All right, I'll just be sharing this out, guys, and be with you guys soon. So yeah, I'm just sharing this out on Twitter. So if you have any of those places, Facebook, Twitter, like that, just try and get it shared out and make sure to hit the like, so we can actually kind of help this truth stuff get out. So but yeah, so basically, as probably most of you who watch this know, it's basically an open platform. However, I have no time for getting dragged into debating with people and stuff like that, and it has happened before where it's turned into a debate, and it's kind of not really something I'm really interested in doing. It's more about a discussion really than it is a debate for me. So I like to keep it open to different topics, and we can try and bring more people to the truth that way. Just you can tell by the title alone, I'm open to different topics, and I've spoke about my opinions on different topics. I don't really have much of an opinion on some topics because it's not something I've really looked into. It's good to have different people on the panel to kind of talk about different things. So yeah, it's good to be able to kind of do this stuff really. That we have this kind of platform, but it's kind of good to get out into the outside, and actually meet people that are like-minded as well. So this kind of platform, it kind of helps to kind of connect people, and then they can actually meet people in real life. And I'm doing my own meetup in 5 days on Saturday on the 23rd. But yeah, if anyone wants to do that, let me know. It's going to be at Heaton Park, outside Heaton Hall. So I do have a video about that. So yeah, like I said, I'm tweeting this out, and yeah, obviously I can't do two things at once, can I? So, but as most of you will know, this isn't my main channel. This is just for going live on at the moment because I have a copyright strike on my main channel, so you can't go live for I think it's 90 days. So I have to wait till the 6th of November because it's been over. It's probably about halfway through the strike situation right now. Yeah, so just gotta wait it out, and I'll be back over there once I've done with that. So yeah, we got Flat Trotter SS. Hope you're doing well. Good to see you. But yeah, most of the topics are open, so if anyone wants to come and discuss anything in particular, they can let me know, and I can send a link out to them. So yeah, probably put it on Facebook as well, but that's not probably going to reach as many people. But let's just put it out over there. So right, so yeah, like I said, I'll put the link out over there as well. So try and get a few more of it possibly, but right, so that's done. So yeah, it seems like different websites have been posting, quite a few articles about Flat Earth. Some of them are kind of ridiculing it, some are being a bit more fair with it, and kind of actually not trying to make it look ridiculous. So to me, like, if the Earth really were a globe, then we would have proof of it. We would have, not only would it be we have proof of it, it would be self-evident. You wouldn't need these science, these pseudoscience priests to tell you that it's a globe. You'd actually be able to kind of go out and do your own tests and stuff. It seems to get kind of like pushed in your face all the time, this global warming, globalism, and they have these icons and things, and all these logos and things that it's all just the kind of programming. It's because it's going to make it a lot more difficult for people to let go because of all that programming that people have had. I've been into this discussion about the shape of the Earth for over a year now, so I've seen more than enough evidence to kind of unprove to actually kind of say that the globe is a lie. The globe, the size they say it is a lie. It may be a lot bigger. It may be 5 or 10 times bigger. It's just there's way too much against the heliocentric theory, and it's never actually been proven. It's just always been this kind of, I wouldn't even call it a theory. It's more of a hypothesis, really. It's just an idea, and people kind of look up at the stars and they're like, oh look, the southern stars are going opposite directions relative to the northern stars, and somehow that proves that we're on a sphere. When in reality, no measurable curve proves that the other, that we're not on a sphere, because we would have definite amount of curvature if they're claiming the Earth to be 24,901 miles in circumference, and not everyone even seems to know that. Maybe it'd be something I need to go and ask people and just see how much they know about it. Maybe plant a few seeds in there as well. Maybe that's kind of what we need to just do, is be a bit more subtle and kind of be like, and then maybe tell them right at the end to kind of look into it, and I don't know, just kind of work your way up to it subtly, kind of start off by saying, how big do you think the Earth is? How far do you think the Sun is? And all this stuff. And just, and then you can kind of just see if they have a kind of basic understanding of how their model works and why they think it works. Because I don't think a lot of people can really justify their own model, because they'll keep blaming it on gravity. Gravity, is doing this. Gravity is doing that. Gravity is actually derived from the Latin word gravitas, which means weight. So that's what gravity is derived from. It's weight. So if something weighs more than the Earth, then it's going to fall. It weighs less. It's going to rise. Pretty simple, but people like to overcomplicate things with curvy space time and all this kind of convoluted nonsense stuff that people can't actually test and prove. They have to bring in dark energy, because they say that about the 95% of the universe would have to be to be this kind of dark matter that no one can see, no one can kind of tell that it's actually there. It's just it would have to be there in order for that model to work. And they won't just apply Occam's razor and think, well, the whole model's probably wrong, and we need to find something that's probably explained more simply, like that the sun and the moon are a lot closer, and that plane that's not moving in any way at all. But they'll never go to the kind of logical explanation. They'll just always cling to that ball. A lot of these scientists, I believe, are actually being honest. It's just they're very deceived people, I think. But I think at the top, very top people, these priests like Neil deGrasse Tyson, I think they know that the globe is nonsense. Anyway, let's see what we've got. So we've got Let's Rotter Assess, Stephen Jambier. Well, it certainly seems flat, but we can't measure the whole thing. Anyway, we've got 15 watching and only 3 likes. So if you can like it, then it'll actually help it just help, won't it? It'll help push the video up, I think. Good times for all. How are you doing? I need to check out your video. So you explain the star trails or something. I mean, which is good if you can try and kind of debunk a globe Earth proof by doing your own experiment to kind of show how it could work on a flat Earth. But still, though, how do you get measurable curve of the Earth? By looking up in the sky. It's a total red herring. It's just nonsense. It is sophism, I believe. Because the people at the top that are saying these arguments probably know that they're playing on our kind of lack of understanding of how the celestial objects work, because they tell us that there's such a thing, and how do we even know that they're physical objects? And I think that's probably more likely, when you're kind of likely to be an explanation that they're not physical objects, therefore that they have the ability to kind of swirl in opposite directions, they're able to kind of spin in opposite directions, north and south, because they're not actually physical, and they can just do something different, based on your kind of subjective position on this flat plane. That's how I'd see it. But there's not really any way of proving or disproving that. I don't know. Or maybe there is, but it's not really something I'm kind of too focused on. But if someone can actually come and actually show how it works on a flat Earth, kind of really easily, then that'd be good, because it would basically shoot down a common sort of global argument, because it's one of those sort of go-to arguments for a globe. It's gravity, Coriolis effect, seasonal variations, day and night, all these things that supposedly prove that we're on a globe. But you have to completely change the way you think about how the universe works. And that's going to be hard for some people, because they have to let go of that programming and kind of, just let it all go, start with a clean slate where they don't have any kind of preconceptions as to, how reality works. And it's just, you're going to have some kind of, they're still going to have some kind of, programming for a while, but after a while they'll just kind of, start to realize that it's definitely not what we've been told. People have to sort of transition out of that thinking, don't they? They can't just do a full leap. Some people might then become, to where it's like, or maybe it's not spinning and it's kind of still, then they might kind of leap to, it being flat, possibly. I don't know. But saying some of the points to a solid dome overhead. I suppose it would make sense there's some kind of up there to kind of keep the pressure in. So I see loads of different theories. Some believe it could be like an electromagnetic barrier as opposed to a solid physical, solid kind of glass ceiling, whatever. All right, later. Good times. All right. Mark, how you doing? You're from Leeds. Looking forward to Saturday in Manchester. Yeah, cool. Yeah, you know where to meet, don't you? You know where to meet up. Fly Earth Echo. How you doing? Yeah, cool, Mark. Yeah, it'd be good to see you. A few other people that said that they might be coming as well. So one said they might be coming with 2 other people. So yeah, it'd be good to see you guys in person. Yeah, we need to make sure more of these stuff, happens. Make it more often, so then it's not as much contained online, and it's actually we're getting out. And I want to do some activism while I'm there as well. If anyone wants to help me with some idea to kind of promote this flat Earth stuff, then yeah. So yeah, once you come to this topic, then there's other topics that you can come to as well. Whether it be 9/11, whether it be chemtrails, whether it be Freemasons. There's lots of different things that you have to start kind of realizing that that if it's flat, then the whole thing is a lie. The whole idea of outer space is a lie. It's pure lie if it's flat, because it doesn't make sense, the whole kind of space, if it's flat. So because they use a straw man with the flat Earth has been like some kind of disc floating in space, which I don't think any flat earther believes in that nonsense. But to me, that kind of proves that we're onto the right thing, because why would they be kind of attacking it with strawmen? Why wouldn't they why would they have to misrepresent the majority of the flat Earth people by using a straw man? It doesn't make sense. If it were a globe, then they would kind of look at people like Brian Cox, for instance. I used to think that guy was all right, once upon a time, but now I see it, and all I see is just smug, arrogant. These people think they know everything, and when somebody challenges them, they'll just get triggered and call people morons. This is kind of this is proof that that they're dogmatists, or either that, or that they know that it's a lie, but they're doing it anyway because they're working for the government or whatever to push nonsense, because they want to keep people feeling like that they're just a random accident. So it makes people feel very small, very insignificant, and that's probably why they would lie, like that, because if they can lie about everything else, then they can lie about this as well. Cheers, Flat Trotter. You have a good day as well. I'll chat to you again soon then, Flat Trotter. So yeah, I just kind of thought about firing up again today, but yeah, we had a good chat the other day. Pretty interesting. It's always good when we get different people on and stuff, and we can discuss things. And it was good that there was no drama or anything like that. We can just kind of talk through things. And to me, that's what it's meant to be. There's a link to my main channel, actually. It's a featured channel now, so if you've not subscribed to that already, then you can go over there. So I just want people to kind of wake up now, really, because we're getting to that point where it's become so obvious that it's a lie, yet people are still believing in it, and it's like, wake up, man! This is not the way it's been told, but they just can't get it. Either that, or they just don't want to get it. Who knows? But I do think more and more people are waking up, and there's a lot of activism going on, and it's it's just going to cause more attention to this flat Earth stuff. If people in the flat Earth can try and work on stuff together and try and create banners and things, because you might get hundreds or thousands of people seeing this, and a few dozen of those will actually look into it, and then a few of those might actually then pursue it and become I'm not going to say a flat earther, because I don't really like that kind of label, but they kind of become people who don't believe in a globe anymore, because it is fantasy. I could talk about it all day why it's fantasy, but we've got lots of other things to talk about as well. We don't want to kind of talk about that all the time, because people can just go look at all the videos that have been put up about this topic. And I could do with looking into something new soon, probably, so I've not looked into yet. So if anyone wants to come and join me and talk about anything in particular, then let me know, and I can send you a link to come and talk about what you want to come and talk about. Anyway, Flatlander, how you doing? So Chris Hayes, how you doing? I'm just going to have a quick look at the Google Trends for it. So if you want to actually, if there's anyone that believes in the globe and they want to actually just check Google Trends, and you'll see that it's actually, it's a very relevant topic right now. And that alone should give you the kind of like a reason to actually go and look into it. So it kind of starts late 2016. It wasn't kind of really going up or down particularly. Then it kind of shot up, and that was due to the whole kind of Kyrie Irving, and it kind of shot up again because of obviously Shaq. Then it goes back down, and then it goes back up again because of obviously around the eclipse time. It's kind of gone back down again, but it's still, it's still higher than it were at the beginning of the year. So if more people are active, they can probably bring that up to like 100 again. But everyone's got to probably try and put their bit into it. Does anyone that believe in Mandela effect? Because I haven't really seen enough proof of it. I've said it before, the Kit Kat one seems to kind of get me a little bit, and a couple of other ones kind of get me, but it could all be down to misremembering. I don't know about that, but if anyone has any proof of it that's like undeniable, then let me know. Everyone's at work today. Well, it's like 5:45 here, but thought the people in UK would be home by now. But I know some people can actually watch while they're at work. Some of them can, like, if they're doing something where they can just listen in and maybe kind of get involved in chat and stuff. But that doesn't really matter too much. All this talk of leftover residue is a bit dodgy too. Can't see the proof because it's changed. The Mandela is a bit too hard to prove. So even if it is true, it could be being used as a psyop to kind of either discredit other conspiracy stuff or distract from other conspiracies, because then people will be focused on Mandela effect and not on anything else really. It's just a way to kind of throw people off, but who knows what's going on really. All right, you're work till 9. I mean, have you been there all day, or have you just been there like since this afternoon? I'm not sure whether to like upload these onto my other channel when I finished it, because it might get a few more people seeing it possibly. I don't know, because obviously I can't go live over there, but I could always upload it onto there. I think that's what Martin Leaker did. He went live on like a secondary channel, but then he kind of uploaded it onto his main channel, and a lot more people saw it on there. Oil say the Mandela effect changed the world from round to flat. Lol. But obviously the physics of water kind of is impossible, unless it was possible in the old timeline that water could kind of hump around shapes and things, which is pretty ridiculous, because we know that water doesn't have the ability to kind of do that. But maybe in the old reality it did somehow. But no, I wouldn't buy that if that's what someone claimed. Will you ever be able to go back live on the other channel, or is that permanent? I'll be able to go live on my main channel on the 6th of November. It's removed, I believe. So I take it that once this strike gets removed, I'll actually be able to look at it now. So for some reason the subscribers are not going up at all. It's going up, down, up, down, up, down. What the hell? Like, maybe some people are just getting fed up of subscribing to me or something. Either that or they're being unsubscribed. I don't know what's going on. I'm a bit sick of it, to be honest. But because if I was able to go live over there, I would have been way over 1,000 by now. So I don't know if it's a deliberate thing to try and stop me from getting this stuff out there. I was doing pretty well, on there. And then it kind of, I couldn't go live over there anymore. So, that's to let you know about that. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah. I don't really have anything to talk about in particular, but if anyone has anything to kind of request to talk about, then let me know, because I would like to kind of respond to a bit of chat maybe if anyone wants to come on, and we'll have a discussion. But anyway, we are waking up. How's it going? So yeah, they keep throwing the word around science this, science that. Science proves this, science proves that. Well, science to me is it's observable, it's repeatable. And the globe simply isn't. So it's not scientific, but the flat earth is kind of proven by real science, real natural science proves it 100% that it's not a spinning testicle. Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? But yeah, over time, I think the globe Earth's just going to become more and more ridiculous. I'm just hoping that, you know, soon the globe Earthers will become the new flat Earthers, because if you become, a flat Earther, you become part of the majority, because that's kind of, you know, the kind of becomes the accepted thing. But people still need to discern, though. It's just so obvious that it's not what they're saying it is. I'm just getting a bit a bit fed up of seeing that, you know, not everyone's waking up. You think it would just happen like really quickly, but maybe it will soon, but I don't know. I mean, they say there's 7 billion people, so what percentage of that is awoke? Very little, I would say. 23rd, I don't know, but I'm doing a meetup on the 23rd. I don't really want to think about, you know, what's going to happen then, to be honest. It's all just kind of doom and gloom crap to me. Probably just another hoax to keep people in fear. But Pete Shea thinks it's just going to he didn't really say what he thought it was going to be, but it says that it's going to be significant, but not in the way that the Bible believers, the Bible literalists believe it to be. I just thought that we can just, you know, get out of this, you know, situation soon, you know, of all the, you know, indoctrination. People are still being taught these lies, even though they've been exposed, you know. But yeah, I don't know what it's going to be, to be honest. But we'll just wait and see on Saturday when I'm doing the meetup. Maybe it'll happen before that. Maybe it'll happen after. I don't know, because it's not a particular time when such events are supposed to happen, whatever it might be. So who knows? No, I mean, I just think it's just another. They're saying it's like some prophecy, but it's just kind of, you know, I don't know. It's just going to be some psyop thing, probably. I don't know. But if something happens on the 23rd, then we know that we're right, because people have been predicting it. So, you know, that will give us confirmation. I mean, if we all get wiped out, then so be it, because at some point, and you know, if you believe in a creator, then everything's going to be all right in the end anyway. Unless you're evil, then you've something to worry about, then, haven't you? You know, I mean, Pete Shea just thinks it's all a game, and it's all just, you know, it's all a big puzzle that's been going on for 400 odd years. That's what he says, but I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see what happens. Some people just don't really care what shape it is. But some people just don't really care about anything at all. They don't really care that the governments are corrupt. You know, it doesn't affect me, so I don't care. You know, but they don't realize how it is actually affecting them. They're just happy with what they've got. You know, like, and there's a lot more to life but they're just happy with. You know, they're happy with their delusion. That means the system's got them pretty bad. You're looking forward to it because it will wake loads. Well, we'll have to wait and see, won't we? So, are you doing P900 cool pics? What are you on about? Or cool Stone Dead? What are you talking about? Oh yeah, we just have to wait and see. The way I see it is that there always has to be good and evil. You know, there has to be. Otherwise, you know, good can't exist or evil can't exist. Unless both of them exist, then, you know, you need evil to exist for good to exist, because without any evil doing, you can't really be a good person. Like, you can't do good things, because if it was all good, then it would. If everyone was good, then you know, there wouldn't be kind of no such thing as good, really, because there's nothing to contrast it. And you could say, well, you know, some people could be more good than others and stuff like that. But then the ones that are less good would be considered as evil. So yeah, you always have to have that sort of duality of good and evil, I would say. Yeah, balance in the force. Yeah. So yeah, that's what I would say. So anyway, what is everyone up to? Well, anyway, but yeah, anything could happen. But you know, maybe it'll wake people up. Maybe it was always meant to happen. Who knows? The girl in the freezer is the biggest trend now. We need to make sure that the flat Earth gets to like the top, really, so then more people actually become aware of it. Because if it's not in the trending list, then not as many people will actually see it. Yeah, day and night. But I've heard that counter argument that dark is just an absence of light, and that the cold is just an absence of heat. So those are like the counter arguments to like the duality. Andrew Calvert, how you doing? Yeah, we'll just have to wait and see what happens. Well, apparently that, you know, that whole kind of FE conference thing, apparently that's going to get some press. But we'll just have to wait and see what happens with that. That might wake a few people up. But I suppose the only problem with it is that most of the people going are probably already flat earthers. So it's like they're going to be kind of talking to a choir, really. And it's, you know, unless they can bring some new information up because I think it was Rich, Mr. Thrive and Survive. I think he said that he's going to be like talking about something new there that's not talked about on the channel or something. I don't know. But I can kind of understand the idea that it's about kind of bringing people together, because I don't know how many people there is. I'm sure I heard it was 400, but I'm sure then they said now it's like 1,100. So did they sell more tickets or something? Because I'm sure that they said that they place can fit 1,100 or something. I don't know, because there needs to be as many people as possible. I mean, 400 is a bit low, but I don't know. But there's supposed to be one next year in the UK conference. So yeah, interesting stuff. It's actually only less than 2 months away till that FE conference, but someone saying it's a shield conference or something. Well, I don't know myself. I don't know if these people are shield or what, but I don't see what's wrong with what they're putting out there. As long as people are discerning what people are saying, then it doesn't make any difference either way. Well, Pete Shea was saying that the moon is actually, I think he said it's a reflection of the sun or something. He said it's not its own thing. It's actually just a reflection of the sun. And he found this interesting thing that he saw the Milky Way on the moon, and he put an overlay of the Milky Way on it, and it kind of was a perfect match, which I thought was really interesting. Why do people keep putting these things down like the conference? Well, I did say a while ago that I didn't see much point to it, like because I was thinking more as in I was just thinking more that all the money that would be spent, because if there's hundreds of people going, that means there's going to be thousands, if not tens of thousands of pounds spent on this event. There's going to be a lot of money being spent on it. Isn't there something better that could be done, like a really big experiment that would just completely blow the globe out of the water, like just completely destroy it to bits, and there would be like no way of but I think that we'd have enough of that, to be honest. So maybe it's a good idea, but I don't know. I do kind of think it's a decent idea. It's just what's new there. I understand that it's more of a social gathering type thing. So, but I think people can just get out in their local area and actually meet people local to them, really. And I see the more of those that happen, the better. As some meetup to go to, you have to start somewhere. But yeah, I'm hoping that, when you're talking about starting something, it's like, and they talk about, this annual event, I'm like, they're treating it like we're going to be in this situation for the next few decades or something. And I really frigging hope it's not going to be like that. I hope by next year that we can actually all start to wake up, and then we can just kind of put this whole thing to bed, and we can just, try and figure out what we can do next. Because that should be the focus, what we're going to do next. Once this whole thing has been exposed, then what are we going to do next? So we're going to just, still be doing the same things? Probably not. So once people know their true significance, I think people would probably people would start to become more cooperative again, like maybe a long time ago, but I don't think things would be back then. It's just, things probably wouldn't be that massively different. It's just that things would be more liberating. I think, you can take the good things out of it, but you throw out all the bad bits and you add the good things into it to make the system kind of best, really, for everybody. But yeah, I'm just hoping that soon it's gonna explode, and I just can't see it going on much longer. I really hope not, but it's just if we're not quick, then what's gonna happen is the people that became flat earthers a few years ago are gonna start dying off, and then their kids are gonna start believing in the globe. So that might have happened one time where a generation started to believe in it a bit, and then the next generation didn't believe in it because they kind of pumped out loads of propaganda and stuff. Are you in flat earth still water? But yeah, just hope it doesn't take too much longer. Has anyone seen Anthony Riley's latest video? His new channel's called Sleeping Warrior. If you've not seen it, so yeah, he's put a video out today. So I'll just put a link to that in case anyone hasn't seen it. Right, so yeah, it's already squashed. The globe is already squashed for sure. Yeah, don't know how long I'll be on here for, but don't know if is the moon on tonight. I don't know, because I might get people to go over there if they want to go over there later, and we can move everyone over there. But yeah, there was a good hangout on the other night that they did with Aaron, whatever you call him. Pre-shock, where I was talking about how we're actually going to destroy NASA, and kind of, because if we set up these initiatives to kind of, people have different kind of focuses, but it's like you have one central place where everyone can get together and kind of like, because he was going about how like we may be able to kind of do like a thing similar to Facebook, but with better features and stuff like that. And if we can get the people to move over from these things, then they become obsolete, basically. That could be the way forward, is if we create something new, like a new system, like the where people are kind of like moving towards, and if it's attractive for people will move over, and the old one will just become obsolete. It will just die out. It will just, we don't need to destroy the system. We just need to let it die out by itself by having people, go over to a new system, like, communities, that working together, kind of growing their own foods and stuff, and whatever they want to do, and it'll be like you get different communities that are focusing on different things, and kind of but it was that guy was also talking about the cryptocurrencies. I don't know if I really agree with that, because is money really the way forward? Do we really need it? I would say no. Maybe we should go back to the bartering system, because electronic money is even worse than physical money, isn't it? Because it's just stuff on a screen, isn't it? It's just people need to just kind of do stuff for each other, really, and that's how we can move forward. And people shouldn't be bothered about, you got to pay me this much and I'll pay you this much, and it's like, people should just not really bother too much, about how much work you're putting in versus someone else, because it'll all balance out in the end, probably. So you shouldn't really have to worry about that. Yeah, people are too selfish nowadays. Yeah, that's the problem. But I can be quite selfish sometimes, but but some people who are selfish won't even admit it. But I think there has to be a balance. I think you got to be selfless and be selfish, as well, because you got to think about yourself sometimes. Because if you never thought about yourself, then you'd just be kind of you'd probably not really be thinking about what you want in life and what you want out of life. You'd just be thinking about everyone else all the time, and so it has to be a balance, I would say. I think live and let live. I think you should be able to do what you want, but as long as you're not as long as it's not affecting somebody else's it's not affecting anybody else's life negatively. If they don't want, if you're doing someone else isn't happy with that, then you should consider not doing it. Balance. Is kind of to be a necessity, really, for the a good system, really. Yeah, I'll probably move everyone over at 9 p.m. Balance. Yeah, think of yourself, then you can help others. Yeah. Well, I would say, I suppose in a way, by helping others, you're putting out, if you're putting out that positivity, and because you're putting out that energy and stuff, it'll return back to you in some way. So I suppose if you're not thinking too much about what you want, then you shouldn't just worry about that too much, maybe, and then it'll just come to you anyway. Because they talk about karma, and if you do good things to other people, they will pass it on, and it'll eventually come back around to you. But some people don't believe in that. So does any of you kind of truly think that's actually not the case, or do you think it definitely is, or what? Some people just don't give a damn. Sometimes I'm kind of selfish, but it's more that I'm not meaning to kind of be. It's just kind of the way I am in some ways. It's kind of, because sometimes I'm thinking about myself, but then other people kind of sometimes get kind of shoved to the bottom of that list. I don't mean to do it. Sometimes it's just the way that I function, really. Sometimes that if there's not really anything going on, and I'll be happy to help people, because sometimes I get kind of preoccupied with thoughts and things like that, and it kind of, other people maybe kind of, like I said, priorities, and you need to kind of put other people up there, as well as yourself. You can't just have them down at the bottom of the list, especially people who are actually kind of that respect you, because you might lose the respect if you don't respect them so much, or you don't show the respect to them. This is basic stuff, but some people just don't get it. And this way that the kind of system is kind of set up is that it kind of causes nihilism. People get so kind of selfish because they're just out for themselves, because they think, this is just a random chance. Let's just do stuff what we want to do, like literally whatever we want, and we should be able to do what we want, but as in within reason kind of thing, not do things like crimes and things like that. And I think at one time people would have just done the right things. People wouldn't have killed each other because they just knew that it was wrong to do that, because they were more in touch with what with, I suppose, with nature and whatever the kind of source kind of wants them to kind of do. helping others feels good. I suppose, like, that's the only like incentive some people have to do it, because they know that when they do it, they feel a lot better, because they know they've made somebody's day happy, so made somebody's day better, and by doing that, it makes their day better. But for some people, when they do it, they actually kind of, things come to them, like doors maybe open, because positivity goes around and the energy goes around. I suppose the kind of higher frequencies kind of go around, and it can only go so far until it comes back to you, and it might take longer sometimes than others. You just got to like not really think too much about that, because you shouldn't really expect anything in return. Because if somebody's like kind of on the street, then maybe I just feel like that the only thing is, I just feel like if I was to give money to people on the street, that they would just take the mick, and that's the thoughts that I've had. But then at the same time, I think it might have been, can't remember who it were, but someone was saying that how if you give 3 people money on the street, then even if only one of those needs it, it's better that you give it to that one person that needs it and 2 people that don't need it than to not give it to any of them. So I suppose that's one way of thinking, so. Yeah. How about those that killed in war, that think they're doing good? What happens to them, Jamie Brown? I'm not sure. That's a good question, because if they have good intentions, then, but they might still, bad stuff still might happen to them, because it's just the way karma works. It doesn't care whether you had good intentions or not, but if you did bad things, bad things are going to happen to you anyway. That's how I think, anyway, unless you believe that God's in control of it. But I think in those cases, the people that made them do it suffer the karma, not the person doing it. Yeah, I would actually say maybe that's the case, because that it might come to bite them in the ass, but the person who they made do it, they might not happen to them, like the bad karma. But it's already pretty bad for them, really, isn't it? I think those who fight in wars and they see all the people dying and stuff like that, right in front of them, that would obviously cause maybe some kind of maybe PTSD for some of them, and just kind of grief, really, because they've seen their friend or whatever die. So that is their kind of, I wouldn't say it's karma, but they're kind of going through kind of negative emotions, though, some of them. God says, forgive them, they know not what they do. But yeah, exactly. I mean, you can't just punish someone for when they don't know what they're doing. So you believe God gave us all free will? But it was interesting what Question Everything said a while ago on his channel. Well, he created a new channel, but because he shut his channel down for a while, but he's not put it up since. They were saying something that could be like an experiment, because when you're doing an experiment, you can't you can't intervene with it. You just gotta let it do its thing, and you kind of set it all up, and then you just kind of let it do its thing. And because he says about how all the suffering in the world, that whoever created this has just let it kind of do its thing. It was quite interesting, that, but at the same time, it doesn't really resonate with me that well, because I would like to believe that we're something more significant than just some kind of science experiment or something. If we kill the innocent, our innocent will be killed. Yep. We are waking up. My grandmother was in World War II, and you could see the pain in him all the time, Jamie. So some would say, well, if you're going to get punished for doing bad, then there's not really free will then, because well, yeah, you have a choice more than anything, because if you do bad, then bad stuff's going to happen, and if you don't want to deal with the bad stuff, then you don't really have free will, because it kind of forces you to kind of go down a path, doesn't it? That you might not have gone down if you thought that you wouldn't have been punished for it. So in a way that, that's something to think about as well. Someone was saying that, that means that there isn't really true free will, because, but someone would probably come up with a counter argument for that. A man with plans is a fool. Well, I don't necessarily think having plans is really that bad of a thing. Again, balance is, important. You can always have plans, but as long as you're prepared that it might not go to plan. If we never had plans, then we would never get anywhere. We have to have plan. If, for instance, if we want to do a marathon, we can't just think, let's just go out today and let's just do a marathon. We never plan for it. We just spontaneously just get up and do it. You have to plan for it. You have to prepare. You have to So anyone that says that to not have plans is kind of, no offense, they're just stupid. Like, that's no offense, we got to at least have some plans. But what I'm saying is, don't expect things to go completely to plan. But yeah, thought, action, outcome, God's will. Well, if it's God's will, then there is no free will, because then we're just subject to God's will. So yeah, there's no. If there is free will, then we can make anything happen that we want to. I don't know that we can't really, but so if it was totally free, then we'd, because we've been our choices have been kind of limited, but yeah, there are certain things in life that you have to kind of obviously work towards. But yeah, it's about what you're going to do in it now to make that happen. I suppose that's in a way, but yeah, well, I guess like in a way it's right. Maybe we shouldn't have plans. I don't know, because I suppose the plans can change as long as you can adapt it. Like you can just think, okay, you don't want to be like where it's like you're going to stop at nothing to kind of do what you set out to do, because something might come along the way where things kind of change slightly and you kind of adapt to that. To me, a plan just kind of gives you something to aim towards, or some kind of purpose, I suppose, but not fully necessary. If it was God's will, we could kill who we like because we could blame God, like not Jamie. If it was God's will, we could kill who we like because we could blame God, like not Jamie. Well, yeah, someone say, oh, God made me do it, something like that. Yeah, the power is in our hands, I would say. We have the ability to manifest, amazing things into our lives, into each other's lives, and the more we come together, then the more kind of we can actually achieve. So yeah, noticing plans are fine as long as you are extremely humble. Well, yeah, you can't just like think that you know everything. That's I wouldn't say being extremely humble is really the best idea. As long as you think that, to me, if you think that you're worth nothing and that you just that you know nothing, then that might have a bad effect. So you have to have balance. Again, balance. How many times am I going to have to say it? Because I don't see anything really wrong with ego. It's just you've got to keep it in check. You've got to make sure that the ego doesn't take over. So yeah, there has to be balance. Because if you think you're good enough, that's what to me is important. As long as you think you're good enough, then you don't need to think you're anything else. As long as you think you're good enough to do what you want to do, then you don't need to think that you're better than that. If you get what I'm saying. But yeah, doesn't look like anyone's after joining me, but yeah. Later P900. Yeah, I agree. Life does throw curves. I think sometimes that's the problem with me. Is when I've planned to do something on a day and it doesn't happen. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll make it happen. Like I'll actually, because if I want to do something that bad, then I will try and make it happen. But some people just like me, they would rather just not kind of do that. So yeah, seems like a lot of people in this flat Earth thing, they have pets and stuff. They have a lot of pets, cats and dogs. Yeah, I honestly don't think they should have been domesticated. That's just my honest opinion. I just don't think they should have been domesticated. I think they should have just been kind of, they shouldn't have been forced into, domestication, because that's not nature, is it? And it's made them become reliant on humans, and that's not right. Because especially with like dogs, they'll be like if you leave them at home, they'll be like they're waiting for you or whatever to like come home like for like 3 hours or whatever, however long, But yeah, somebody's got to have them, I suppose. If there's pets there, then somebody has to take them, or they're just going to be there in the shop, aren't they? But yeah, right, Mick, I'll send you the link if you want to jump on for a bit. I've not spoke to you for a while, have I? Yeah, it'll be a pleasure to have you on again. I'll just put my headphones on. Right. Noticing we were made from dust, and dust always settles in the lowest place, whether it be under a doormat or the top of Mount Everest, and when the wind blows it moves. Yeah. Vinegar Strokes, how you doing? So I'm just waiting for Mick to come and join me if he wants to come and join me. Oh, to see that, Vinegar, I'll have to go and have a look at that. There's quite a few Flat Earth songs out, isn't there?
All right, Jamie?
Not bad.
Yeah, he was all right. Any distortion or anything?
I think I can hear myself echoing, I think.
You sound all right from my end. What was he talking about?
I think plans and stuff like that. How people make plans and they don't, like, when people make plans and they kind of, things don't turn out how they planned it. And I was just kind of discussing with chat whether that people should make plans or not.
It depends how detailed though, doesn't it? It's like if you make a detailed plan, then there's a lot.
Yeah, there's more that
right,
can go wrong with it, and there's more kind of chances for it to kind of to be kind of for things to not go to plan. Because I think, like you said, people get bogged down with details too much today.
That's when you start going into belief, isn't it? You start making things up and believing stuff. If you stay in reality and just go with known and not known, things become a lot clearer, I think.
But then you're saying that there's not really much that you can really know.
I think there's a lot more you do get to know once you realise what you actually don't know, because you never knew it. So you're making it up when you say I believe something. And yeah, because to believe something, that means it's out of your experience.
Well, when they talk about the shape of the earth and stuff, it's like, what I gather from you is that you don't even believe it has a shape.
Well, when I used to say the earth, I know the earth's flat, I was telling lies, wasn't I, to myself, because I don't know. So how can I say to a ball earther, it's not a ball, but I know it's flat and there's no way you can know otherwise? So I would have to know. So the only position I can take now is I don't know, so therefore you don't know. Do you know what I mean? Nobody knows.
Well, then the question becomes then, why is it so hard to tell one way or the other? Could that imply that there isn't a shape to it? It's just whatever you believe it to be?
Absolutely, I think, because there's evidence to suggest either way. Now, the stars seem to suggest the ball, but we can ignore that and then say, well, look at the gyroscope. That proves it for us. So there's
and they can ignore that and say, look at Soundly's evidence and all that.
Well, we do it. Well, I did do it. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. So it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, isn't it?
That's why truth's important, isn't it? To figure it out. If you start using make-up things for the ego to say I'm right or he's wrong or anything like that, to something that you can't validate is a lie. Do you know what I mean? So you just don't know. And by knowing that, that's one more thing I do know. It reveals a lot more. It's like if you think of the God thing, right? We think of Jamie. Who is Jamie Brown? Who are you, or what are you, Jamie? We thought of that. You're not your name, are you?
No.
That's just a name. You're not your occupation. You're not what you like. You're not what you do. So who are you?
So what do you think we are then? Like, sort of.
Wait, do you think you have a purpose? Do you have any? Are you significant?
Well, I'd say that we have a significance in some way. I don't know what, but
well, if you don't know, how do you know? Do you see what I'm saying to you? Say we have a significance.
Yeah, we don't know.
But you don't know. So what's making
you do? But yeah, you could just believe that you have. Then that might make life more meaningful to you, and maybe that's what it's. This kind of flat earth thing's maybe a placebo effect for some people, because they think that they've kind of grown spiritually from it, but just because they believe that they have something. Well,
it's like if you say one little lie, you think, oh well, I've spot that lie, I've woke up, but there's a massive amount of other things you're not seeing.
Yeah, the thing is though, like when you actually because the way I see it is it can't be flat, obviously, because there's hills and stuff, so on the smallest scale it's definitely not flat. Obviously it's not a globe either.
Well, let's take a water thing. I experience it as far as I can see, it looks flat, right? But on the smallest part, if I take a small part of water, it does go into a ball. It does change its shape. It does do things it doesn't do on a bigger scale. So on the biggest scale, what I cannot see, I cannot vouch for.
Yeah, so you can't really see what's going on at the biggest scale, because we have this limited perspective, but also the other way as well. We can't see what's going on the smallest scale. I mean, even if you have like microscopes and stuff, it seems to just keep on going on and on and on as far as people can tell. And we don't know if these neutrinos and things exist, but if they do, then there might be some even smaller than that, and it just goes on forever.
Well, think of it this way: if I went up to a dog and I looked at every little hair on its back, and that's the only view I ever took of it, every little segment, I took each cell, I took each little bone, I took each little part of that thing, I would never say what it was. I have to stand back from it, take all the detail away, and look at it for what it is. And this thing we on is alive. It shows all the traits. It breathes. It you know what I mean? It has nutrients. It dissolves stuff into it. We from it. It's in us. We on it. It's all the same thing. It's like a little grain of sand on the beach that's insignificant against all the other grains. As time goes on, you will be that little grain of sand on the beach, because every bit of this life
it's all
dead
relative,
stuff.
isn't it?
It's all dead. Everything that we live in is on top of the dead stuff.
I was thinking it was all relative, the kind of size and all that, kind of significance, because that grain of sand, it's like, it's only small to us, but, to an ant, it's like a rock or whatever,
Well, how big do you think you are? Because we say, oh, well, the sun isn't that far away, but we're not sure because of the way it looks. Well, look at the lens in your eye. It magnifies light. So it's as if you've got a pair of glasses, it's making everything look huge, and you're walking about and you never take them off. The only way you'd see the reality is to have straight through mirrors, like glass instead of lenses, which would make everything fuzzy. We add the focus, we add the detail. I mention it to you, you see it, but there's still no validation because I can never see through your eyes. So we still make it up.
But you were saying how we don't notice details until they're pointed out to us.
Exactly, and then we can't validate that it's exactly the same detail we see in feeling, smelling, or anything like that. There's no way to get in the other person's head to say that's exactly how I'm seeing it.
Yeah, because they might experience red slightly different to
you could experience it totally
the way you do or I do,
It's an interpretation.
Yeah, they might not. But it's like when, we think of, pink as being a girly colour or blue as a boyish colour. Well, how do we know? I mean, in somebody else's reality, a boy could be a girl.
Everything we see.
I mean, we talked about a similar thing before about how up might be down to someone else and stuff like that.
Well, if you look at gravity is just a direction, isn't it? The same as time goes forward. Is there a name for that forward motion of time? No, there's not. Not as far as I know.
Well, the global earthers, they come up with the argument what's determining up and down in the flat earth model if there's no gravity.
Right. But there's no proof of it, is there? So therefore it's made up in the mind again. It's easy to just look at life that way.
Because there was a bit like, what life density and buoyancy, about why don't things fall upwards? Why is there this bias, I suppose,
But why does it matter? It's like looking at the detail. It doesn't matter. It's like you've been given this amazing thing, life. Instead of experiencing it, we're looking at it and we're wondering why it is rather than just experiencing it.
Yeah, I suppose people want to know why things are the way they are because they have wonder and curiosity. But what they're doing, what people do is they kind of play on that and they actually kind of make you curious about things that are not relevant, and the things that are relevant that we're not curious about.
Well, you've got to be curious about the things that are going to do something, haven't you? The things that have no relevance on you.
Yeah, exactly.
What's the point?
Yeah.
If you've got the dimensions of the Earth tomorrow and they were the correct dimensions, now what changes for you, Jamie? Nothing. So if all this is to have a better world, the world that you live in, because you're not creating it for when you're not here, you're creating it for why are you? You get the benefits of it.
Do you believe that we're creating our own reality then while we're here?
Of course you are. Because it's not that the reality you can change, it's how you perceive it. It's if I go out on a rainy day.
So you don't believe you don't believe in God, because that's quite a kind of controversial thing to say in flat Earth, isn't it?
Yeah, because you reckon the first thing is the first recognition is creation. Once you realise all that science shit and evolution is all a pile of shit, you get given the next one, but they've also just handed you the same as the science books. This world was putting it in this way without all the falsity for you to work it out. You tie patterns together, you recognise things because you're supposed to in a natural world, not in this artificial construct that's thrown us off what we are, where we are, and what it's all about. It's like if you're made up of cells, billions of cells. I can remove any one of them cells one at a time, and Jamie Brown will still be here. He won't have changed in any way. So you're not in any one of them cells, are you?
So what are you saying? So you're saying that we are...
Jamie Brown, the person, doesn't exist in any of those cells in your body because I can remove every single one of them one at a time. Can't remove them all, but I can remove every single one of them at a time, and you'll still be here exactly the same, won't you?
Yeah, exactly.
So where does Jamie Brown reside? It's not in the body. That's an accumulation of food that you've eaten.
So you reside... Well, you was going on about water a while ago and how...
Memory.
That's where consciousness is in the water or something.
Well, everything's water.
Well, yeah, I was actually in a recent hangout I was doing when I was responding to someone, because they say we're majority water, and I was like, because I was going on about how we're basically made of earth because we're mostly water, and well, apparently for the average adult it's like 50 to 65%, and that depends on if you have bad diets and like that, it's going to be lower, isn't it?
Is it not what you consider water to be? If you say the recipe of water is only the hydrogen and oxygen, but what happens if the recipe of water is also the minerals? Because all the minerals is all also water soluble. So that's
What
the
do you mean?
soup. I mean, the main ingredient for everything,
It's
the
too
water
moisture, isn't it? So
and minerals. All the minerals is what accumulates from the water, isn't it? That's all we are, a bunch of minerals that's accumulated in the water. And the separation of the water is the oxygen, isn't it? Then you've got the
yeah,
hydrogen that's burning for the sun, which is also using the water up, which I would say the sun's in. And then if you look at electricity, what you experience in electricity, you see one electrode and the electric jumps from one to the other, doesn't it? So it's two solid masses. So whatever's here and the electric strikes down from me, it's coming from something else up there. It has to be pretty much the same. A negative of this.
yeah. So you're saying that the way you believe it is that it's flat, but it works exactly like a globe.
No, it's not what I believe. It's what I experience. I experience it
Is you on
flat.
about like because like the circumnavigation and all that stuff?
Well, I've never circumnavigated, so I can't vouch for that part.
Yeah.
I don't doubt the ones who say they have. You know what I mean? But then I would have to go into belief. So, in all honesty, I only know what I experience. I experience it flat. But then I wouldn't experience it round on a ball anyways, because I would have to see the edges to see any curve, because it's the same distance all
Well, I've
the way
heard this
around.
argument, but I'm not sure if that's true because if you was to say like look at the horizon, then wouldn't you? If you was even at like 100,000 feet, then you'd see kind of curve on the horizon.
Where the,
'Cause there has to be curve in every direction, so there has to be curve on the horizon as well.
No, it doesn't. Because the curve you were talking about would be we on a 6 mile ball. If it's curving 3 mile away from you and that's where you're losing your sight from, then it would have to be 3 mile either side. And if you can see 12, how does that work? And
Well, if you were seeing
and you look into the curve,
like,
look at the low part of the curve, what happens there? Because that's back to your reference point. Does it just bounce back up?
so well, if it drops off by to the horizon by say a mile, then how much curve would there be from left to right?
Well, there's none. Because think about it, you're on a ball, Jamie, a big, huge ball. You go out, you stand on an island in the sea, there's not one bit of land around you. Now turn around. Where's the dip?
Yeah, I get what you're saying with that, but if it was to say
There is a dip, Jimmy. You see the dip now. Look straight towards the dip. Why is that the dip? You're looking straight out.
if you was to have a ship go from one side to the other, it would appear to come over a hump, even though it might be ever so slightly, but at some height you would see that.
No, because your view sight would end at the same distance all the way. So as it went off at an angle, it would go down in a way, wouldn't it? If it was on a ball, it wouldn't look like it was going off a hump. It would just go down or come up. If it went round in a circle around you, it would be going straight. If it went further out, it would start to go down.
So if it was to go straight from left to right, and then it
would come up. It would come up, and then it would go down. But the horizon would be flat, not the both. The horizon. You see what I'm saying? You have to see the ends to see the curve. Even in space, you wouldn't see the ends. That's why I'm saying even when you go up into space, they're showing a fucking lie because you wouldn't see a curve. If it was
whichever way it is, it's a lie because if they're showing you a curve and oh look, this proves the curve, and if you're not supposed to be able to see one anyway, then that debunks that. But then again, belief again, isn't it?
Here's the thing, right? If we went through life and we were told exactly what it was, right? It was flat. We haven't explored it all, or you come back to the same point of origin. Now, how would that change your life?
Pardon?
If you found out the exact dimensions of what we're on, whatever they are, whatever you want them to be, how would that change your life?
Well, exactly. It's not really relevant.
No, but believing this was other than accident changes the way you think.
Yeah, that's more what it's about. It's more that the way I see it is, consciousness creates reality. Because without it, does anything exist?
Well, does anything exist without you, Jamie? From your perspective,
you can't know that because everyone else has their own subjective experience. So your reality doesn't exist without you.
Well, there's no exceptions to patterns that happen. So every night you go to sleep and you wake up, don't you?
Yeah.
The sun goes up and it comes down every night, doesn't it? Everything happens in a cycle. So why would you be any different?
What you mean of
eventually?
Life and death?
Yeah. So say there's a certain the minerals that you're made of, and the combination that they put in with the DNA, with your memories, to get that combination exactly the same again is a massive number. But given enough time, it will come up again, won't it? Given enough time.
Yeah. So you're saying that we would
eventually you come back round,
resurrect in a way, sort of thing.
Yeah, because there's only a certain amount of combinations that your DNA can go before it replicates itself.
Is it not infinite?
Well, if it's infinite, then it'll come up again, won't it? because there's only so much space on this place that we live on. So there's only so many different combinations of humans.
True, but like the amount of time between it wouldn't seem to like you would like come to the next life. It would seem to no time would pass. It would just kind of
exactly, yeah.
Even if you came back in a million years, you wouldn't know that because you wouldn't like when you go to sleep. It just seems like you wake up a second after you've gone to sleep.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm trying to say.
So how do we know if anything actually did happen between that time?
Yeah, well, it would be like now we could say, oh, look at this modern age we've been born into. Well, it might just be exactly the same as the old modern age. Do you know what I mean? That we came from. We just little differences. That this is a planet. It's called a planet because we plan the next one. Do you know what I mean? The conscience brings it back. It makes it more believable.
So what do you think is going to happen when everyone, is questioning this globe model? And
it doesn't really. That's their concern, isn't it? It's nothing to do with me anymore.
Yeah. Like because if you can, you're saying tech.
You can't stop a lie, and all you can do is stop people believing it. So to go after people is stupid. You've got to just turn people's views or the way they look at things to see truth and made up fantasy. If I have suspicion, it's made up. I'm constructing, I'm making something that doesn't exist and acting like it does. To simply say I don't know that and just leave it at that, then I don't do any of that. So I can leave that. Imagination's there to make creation. It's to make things that already exist different. It's not to make you or me different.
Kind of, I suppose you could say there's nothing new under the sun. What do you think about that? I mean, but at the same time, you can always like put your own spin on everything because I don't know the amount of combinations. There's like I would say it's simple, but I can't know that, can I?
If there's 7 trillion combinations, one combination for each of us, it's going to come around again eventually. It's like your memory, it isn't just in your mind, is it? It's in your body because you've got your ancestors' features all the way through history. So your body remembers.
The thing is, like they say that we come here for a purpose to learn, but we don't remember our past lives and stuff. So what's the point?
Well, I say we do. I would say when something resonates in you and you think that's a truth, well, you have to recognise the truth. I can't recognise Jamie Brown unless I've seen Jamie Brown before. So when a truth that I haven't heard before resonates in us, well, I must have
sort of deja vu experience and stuff like that.
Yeah. So it's like that sort of feeling, isn't it? A resonation. It's like, whoa, this feels comfortable. It's like gathering what you've put out before and you're collecting it back. Do you know what I mean? You put a truth out before.
Yeah, maybe some people like they feel like they're back home again, like as in but they don't know why they feel that way. But it's because in the past reality that they were in, then that's what it was like, and they've regained that kind of feeling. And
well, listen to the words we use. We use words, and I'm really interested in what words that we use because they come out of people's minds, right? So when you say, well, I'm finding myself, I've taken some time off to find myself. Well, you have to find something that you've lost, haven't you? So is the mind saying these words because it is what it is? It's like, say I want to direct hate towards you, right? So what I'll do is I'll call you the things I dislike to start and direct the hate towards them, won't I? I'm not going to call you the person who saved me wife and family's kids and think of you like that.
Yeah, because you give the words meaning. It's like you have like your own kind of like you apply meaning to them.
Stuff I say to you.
And someone else that might not kind of get offended, but even if you was intending on offending them, because
you offend somebody with what would offend you. Because if I says to you, if I start doing homosexual fucking slurs towards you, it's because I hate homosexuals, so therefore I can unleash the anger on that I've created and made you into. You see what I mean? So if I don't share that hate, now I see that coming out of you, it gives me insight into your mind, doesn't it? It means you hate that thing because you're amplifying it by turning that person into it.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? So it's only because I've done these things myself. It's not I'm looking at other people and seeing it. It's like I can only see because I recognise it. I've had to have done it myself. So sometimes you have to look at the ugly shit, don't you?
And going back to how there has to be a balance between good and evil.
But the balance is in the middle, isn't it? If I turn the lights up too bright, you can't see. You're blind the same way. So if I turn them all the way down and off, you're blind. You have to have balance. You have to be exactly in the middle all the time. That's where you see it.
But Goldilocks.
All
I mean is that evil has to exist for good to exist, is what I'm saying.
It's the same thing. Otherwise, nothing's happened. How would you know you was good if you didn't see evil? How would you be classed as evil if there wasn't better? It's like
Exactly. It's like it's all kind of relative, isn't it?
if there was no fluctuation in temperature, there would be no temperature. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
There wouldn't be such a thing because you wouldn't have nothing to measure it off.
But I think some people are saying, this whole kind of duality thing is a deception because dark is just an absence of light and cold is just an absence of heat and all that.
Well,
What's your take on that then?
Well, it's not the absence, it's just a mix of the two all the time, isn't it? It's everything's separation. So if I have a box of 100 black beads and 100 white beads, I can pull all the black ones over to one side and put all the white ones over the other side. I can mix them together and create different so they're all equal and it's just grey from a distance. But I can't get rid of them. They still exist. So it's how you want them to be in the middle of it all the time. You don't want to be... I couldn't be too lovey-dovey and I can't be too bad neither. But
yeah, and you was going on about the genders as well, the whole yin-yang thing. You want to be kind of not... Because, like you said, that's the first way they divide you.
Well, if you look at it this way, there is no biological difference. There's no gender as such. There's just a biological difference, isn't there? Of bearing children.
You have different, kind of reproductive parts and things like that.
That's it. That's the difference. There's no other difference.
It's a kind of illusion, really, isn't it?
Yeah. But there's no there. There's no there getting you, Jamie. There's nobody out to get us. We create that ourselves. You see what I mean? It's like it's always been me who... Nobody fed me poison food. I put that in my food myself. I went to the shop. It was on the shelves, but it was through me ignorance of not looking into it.
Yeah, that was it. Like, you're not actually kind of...
You have to take responsibility for yourself. That's all it is. There's only you in there. So you have to take responsibility for yourself.
You can't just keep sort of looking for some scapegoat or something.
See, you was a person who agitated me for some reason, and now you exist and you do what you do, but for some reason when I'm there, you agitate me. Now, you don't, by the way, but say that was the case. If I react in a way because I start with you and you start back, and then I kick off and I do something to you, then later on I say, well, that was my fault, but you shouldn't have done this. Then that's sort of saying, I'll take responsibility, but I'm passing it back to you. Do you know what I mean? So the responsibility is by the person who done the action, isn't it? If I've went and done something to you, it has always been my responsibility. Nothing you done created me to do that. No, unless you held me hands. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because there was a thing when me kids were growing up, they were smashing the room up and being disruptive and just all kids go through it and stuff. But how do you deal with it? They're like testing you. So I seen a thing on the television and it was, you get your kids and when they took all the toys about, instead of going on at them and nagging them, you just got hold of their hands and you picked the toys up, and it doesn't matter how much they went on, you just kept going over and putting them in the box, and it would get to the point, and it worked, it would get to the point where they just put them in the box anyway, because they knew you would just create a thing where you controlling them and they don't want that, so they would do it themselves. And it worked because they would have to do it anyways. You see what I'm saying? But we're not in that position. There's nobody holding our hands. We're doing it ourselves because we allow it to happen. All of our actions, everything we do.
Yeah. But you're saying about that God, how that...
Well, God is all of us, isn't he? Because, like they say, you take any one of us away, everything's the same, Jamie. It applies to everything. If you take any one of us away...
the cells.
Yeah, so imagine us as each cell of God. All of us are thinking little entity, but the majority, that's the way things go. So that's like your brain, exactly the same. The majority gets the same. And that's the way things go. So it doesn't matter if these little thoughts, it's niggling away, like us, maybe it's the same way the truth is, we them little thoughts. So any one of us can disappear, we're insignificant, and we're replaced with another one, like the cells in your body. So always, this population will be going on, so the God will always in us all.
Yeah, I suppose it's like we're a part of God, but maybe we're also gods in our own right as well.
God's a made-up thing by us. We make God up. We make like and dislike up. You see what I mean? I like this. I don't like that. We've already predetermined what it is.
We are kind of a god of our own reality, really, aren't we?
You are the creator. Everybody creates their own little bit and overlays it. Nobody else can validate and say.
But they're also a part of everyone else's reality as well.
Well, if you're insecure, you need people to say what you're saying because of your insecurity. You need people to say, I say exactly what you're saying. Well, if you don't. You don't need to go and respond because they're saying something different. You're secure in your own way, so you just
because people get insecure, so they need to find something that they can relate to instead of just
Yeah, it's like if I get a compliment, I don't even smile, Jamie. I don't smile or do anything when I get compliments. I don't respond to them because if I respond to them, I have to respond to the bad stuff with just as much enthusiasm. Do you see what I mean? Because I'm responding to comments. I'm responding to outside stimulation for things I already would be me who's accepting it anyways and saying, "Oh, I feel good about that comment." Well, I don't need the comment. I can just feel good about what I've done.
Yeah,
so I
because
don't
if someone
feel
says a bad comment, then you're gonna just automatically feel bad, then, aren't you?
Yeah, because I'm looking for something.
Opposite of the good comment that someone else.
Yeah, so if I'm feeding for comments or pats on the back and I don't get them, then I get upset. You see what I mean? I'm feeding the whole
But
thing.
then can you not learn to kind of enjoy compliments, but at the same time not bother when
How do you enjoy the compliment?
I'm just saying, as in if you there's no way to enjoy the compliment and
what I'm saying
also
is,
not
in reality,
get down about the.
Yeah, but in reality, Jamie, things that are real and things that are not. How do you enjoy your comment? Now, are we making this up? Are we talking about truth? Tell us how you enjoy the comment.
Well, I suppose you shouldn't be kind of looking for kind of like validation of anybody.
Well, if I'm looking for validation and somebody says I'm great, I'm going to start doing things that I'm looking for them to tell us I'm great. So then, therefore,
yeah, because it might inspire you to do something.
But as a leader, if I was a leader, I've had loads of followers. Now the followers are there following me because they don't know where they're going, and by doing that, are they steering me because I see myself like I'm taking them somewhere.
So it's like a sort of like a cycle kind of thing. It's just they're steering you. I mean, you're steering them because they're following you, and they're steering you. So it's like this sort of exchange thing, isn't it?
Yeah, you what?
Exchange. Like you're steering and you're being steered.
Yeah, but this is supposed to be an exchange, but it's supposed to be them truths. It's supposed to be of an aspect of your aspect and the truthful aspect because you're not bothered about anybody else's opinion being different. It's exactly how you see it, and that's an honest perspective. That's all it is, a perspective, because we all know we don't see things the same way. So somebody can say that without being influenced from any outside influence, saying exactly how they say it. That's the truth. Do you know what I mean? And that's all you want at the end of the day. You want other people's opinions put on top of things. I believe it's this, I believe it's that. Because if you go into, well, let's say the thing with other ponds, right? So it's like me saying, well, if I show you a picture of the Loch Ness Monster, do you believe it's real? And you say, well, no. And I say, well, the picture of the unicorn, do you think that's real? And they say, well, no. So if I say, well, here's the pictures of the ponds where the unicorns live, you fancy getting a boat and an expedition and going there? And they're going to go, yes. Because I haven't also seen the pictures of the ponds. So to launch an expedition, it's may as well go and look for the unicorns, mightn't it? Because it's the same.
Yeah, exactly.
Thing. And more land and more this is the absolute opposite. Do I need more? Am I struggling for land? Do I need more? I'm going to cut manage with what I've got. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I suppose I don't know. Maybe some people they just like the idea of kind of exploration, but then again, it's like we don't really need to kind of because we kind of forget how big this place is.
Well, we're tiny, and what's more possible is that to explore yourself, which not exploring other people or other places, but yourself, or to go looking for something that you don't know.
Yeah.
Was you made that way to look for these things that's out there that you wasn't putting near? Was that the intention, or was it to look inwardly?
Well, I suppose it's more about in there, isn't it? Kind of discoveries and things.
It's like, do I mimic nature? Exactly. Do I do what the cat does? Because I'm not a cat. Do you know what I mean?
I suppose like what were people going to find in these other ponds anyway? Just more life, more like different species of animals and things like that. I don't know. I mean, we can, we can create what we want here, can't we?
Well, it's not that you can change the world and create it. It's how you receive it, isn't it?
Yeah.
You can change so much within inside of you if you're willing. And it happens. It's like, if I look at a day where it's raining, I find that miserable. Now, I like it. I like a rainy day. I like to experience the rain. It's different, not bad.
Yeah, I like the rain as well. It's like, I don't get like when people, oh no, I can't go out today, it's raining. I'm like, why not? It's great, I think, sometimes. time. It's just, I find it refreshing sometimes, especially if it's been sunny for a long time. It's very much appreciated.
So if you want on a hot day and you're going down a hill on your bike and the wind's blowing in your face, you think that's beautiful. So the conditions are the same. It's how you receive the conditions, isn't it?
Yeah, because if it was windy and if it was just kind of unrelenting, then you would just get fed up of that, and you would become numb to it as well. Like if you have anything inconsistent for too long, you become numb to it.
Yeah, but it's how you take it. It's how you receive the world, not how the world is there to give you what you want. It's how you take it inwardly, because it's half in, half out. It is as much as it's you. One day you will be the rock. You're everything. You're the breath. You're the lot. It's all been through you, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, Jovi and Edward knows what it is. Yeah, Coronation Street is in the background. Yeah, that's what I call it now anyway. I mean, what do you think about these shows, these soap operas and things like that?
Well, it's all part of the process, the programming, isn't it? Because within the show...
Yeah, because people get
they comply
over pixels on the screen.
Taxes. Yeah, but on the screen, on the show, they get the taxes along with the drama. They're complying with the society and all the police.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, because they think that's like a representation of reality.
Yeah, like you should do it, like it's all to do with your consent, and they do it like you're obliged to do it because people believe the television. There's no television in here. Do you know what I mean? It's fucking gone.
What do you think about video games then?
Well, if you want to sit in your life looking at little dots on a screen and that's your life, then that's the whole point I'm trying to say is the real world out there. Just go in your garden and look closely. Do you know what I mean? It's amazing and wonder.
Yeah,
wonder.
yeah. If we knew everything, it would be boring because no one would ever think to kind of philosophize anymore. They would just kind of stop questioning things.
Well, that's it, isn't it? Use the critical mind, but not suspicion, because suspicion's using the imagination. Just use the critical mind on its own and wonder, because when you start to wonder, it opens everything up. It's like when you sit thinking about.
Well, wonder is the kind of. I mean, that's more of the kind of right brain kind of. The critical thing is the left brain, isn't it?
Yeah, but the door's always open.
Bringing the two together, isn't it?
Yeah, but all that imagination can go into wonder, and it stays in the filing cabinet that says wonder, not fucking reality. Because that's when people start to mess up life, because the wonder's there for that. Don't mix it in with reality, because you start mixing it in with people and events, and people start reading into imagination, into what's happening. I do it myself, Jamie, do you know what I mean? But I become conscious of it and aware of it, and I learn from it. You take on change, don't you?
So what do you think about psychedelics, kind of mind-altering substances, hallucinogens and things like that?
What do I think of them?
Yeah.
I fucking love them, mate. I think they're brilliant. that's
but you don't think, though, that it's like, well, what I thought you might have said, why would you want to take yourself out of this reality? You should just experience it for what it is. I thought that's what you would say.
No, I would say necessary at a certain time in your life to experience all aspects of reality, because that puts you in a reality where you haven't experienced that. So
yeah, that's true, because you have to go through, because then you're limiting yourself from that. Then,
well, everything. I'm not saying everybody's got their own thing that they like to repeat, trying to recreate that first experience of it. It's like getting that's what nostalgia is, getting the first motorbike you had and think it's going to be the same. It's not. So instead of it's that first event that's the thing. It's not to keep going back to it and watching the same film you think was great, or listen to the same piece of music over and over, or doing the same things. It's to create new.
Yeah, it gets a bit boring after a while, and you become numb to it. You have to mix it up and do new things, and don't be craving that kind of same experience over and over again.
Exactly.
You've experienced that thing, and if ever you want to revisit that, then it's always in your mind, isn't it? Really.
But do you want to live on repeat, or do you want keep watching new things? Do you know what I mean? And the new things that are happening. It's like if I stay calm all the time, it changes how I see the world. It's like it's strange. I can't explain it to you, but I can try.
They say how to get good at something you need to repeat it, but to do that means it might get boring because you have to be repetitive and all that. And
well, water flows, doesn't it, Jamie? It goes downhill and it doesn't go uphill. And if you did want it to go uphill, there's a lot of work created in it, isn't there? To get something to go against it. So sometimes it's easier just to go with it. You know what I mean? Just to not try and plan it, just to go the way it goes, and there's no, an obstacle is only what you create in life, isn't it? So don't make things hard for yourself, make it easy by not constructing things. If I start constructing things out of imagination or hate or like, it takes energy, it takes work. But if I just experience the world as I'm floating down the river, it's much easier.
Yeah, because if things take energy and it's like it's just a waste, then if there's other things that don't take energy but you can still get a buzz out of it,
Yeah, it's a lot easier. It's like you got to look at it from all point of view. So look at this flat Earth thing. We in it and we think it's massive. Now I went over to a fart in a jar and had 1,100,066 views at the time I looked at it. Now that's way bigger than anything on flat Earth. So we're not as big as a fart in a jar, right? So in them numbers, as passionate as we are, and but I'm just saying, these are the facts. I'm not making anything up. As passionate as we are from other people's perspective, we trying to cause a revolution and they don't see a problem, then what do we appear to them? Do we appear like terrorists and fucking rebels? If they don't see a problem, what they feel is comfortable. Isn't it better to point out the problem and try and attack the lies is to point those lies out?
Well, the thing is, like on the news and stuff, they go on about the problems and what's all the negative things, but they never actually kind of provide a solution just to keep people in fear. And
but do you think people are waking up? Because I went over to a news channel the other night and it was on about the hurricanes and it was live from somewhere, right? So I just put it on. There was nothing else on. I stuck it on and it was live from somewhere and it showed you a shop doorway. And it just looked like a smash and grab on a windy night. And they were going, we don't know whether this is caused by the hurricane. He's walking out with his mic. But as I looked over in the chat, there was loads of people. There was nothing to do with Flat Earth going, fake tie on the fake reporter in the fake shop with the fake. There was just loads of it, Jamie. So people are waking up to all this fake fucking shit. Do you know what I mean? It's all just a big fucking stage, isn't it?
Yeah. So remind me So why do you think that they preach about it being a globe and all that and the outer space?
It doesn't matter. It's one lie. It's NASA's lying. Nobody's ever been up or can get out of here, and that's the lie. Because the thing is to tell us that we're in an enclosed system and there's no getting out. That's what we should be learning from this. But they've made it like we can get out and there's these other things. But the thing is, we don't know. That's it. And they haven't proved it. And all they've done is prove that they're faking it. So the big thing is NASA's making shit up, and we want to know why. Not start telling people that the world's flat.
What is your thought? What is your thoughts on astral projection?
What do you mean?
Like when people say that they've left their body, like when they project their consciousness out of their body.
Well, I just think it's in your imagination. If you want to believe it, again, believe. But I have experienced being in a void of nothingness and waking up. But that's it. It's not like I've been anywhere that doesn't exist. I've always been here. That's the only place I've experienced is here. So why would I think there's anywhere else? Why is all the great things exported to death that we once was and can't experience? We've not been here. Everything's exported to there. When if you think about it,
well, everything you can imagine is stuff that you've already experienced, but it's just like the way you kind of construct it is in a way that you've never experienced before. That's more like it, I think. Yeah.
You've rolled out. You've been chucked into heaven and says, "Make of it what you will," and we've made a pile of shit out of it. If you want to look at it that way, if there's people spouting and telling us there's shit and that's how we see it, that's how we see it. If there's people telling us there's better ways and look at it.
So then the more that we experience in life, then the better imaginations we can have then, isn't it?
Well, imagination's not for each other to look at, it's to create stuff with, isn't it? It's like I use
but you have to have actually experienced things in life to.
Well, that's when you experience imagination, isn't it?
Yeah, to get inspiration and things. You have to have had some kind of experience, some kind of thing to kind of inspire you.
Well, everything's an influence from somebody else, isn't it? Everything. There's no original thought. It's just your distortion of it or your combination of putting them together. That's it. So once you realise that you've only got control over something that you've been influenced by, you couldn't come up with a colour you've never seen. You couldn't come up with a sound you've never heard. Do you know what I mean? It has to be a reference with something that's already existed. So
yeah, you just put your own spin on it, don't you?
Yeah, and that's what imagination's for. So the better the imagination used in the right manner, all these things we possess, we're supposed to have, but we're using them in the wrong fucking way.
Yeah, we're using them like to kind of, well, actually,
if I
it's
have an
being used
imagination,
against us.
if I have an imagination, I create something. Now, the imagination's in my head. I don't tell you I create the thing. You experience the thing. It's no longer in my imagination. You're experiencing a creation. If we start talking about the creations without ever making them, then what's the fucking point? We're just living in a fantasy world, which isn't the same as experience.
Well, yeah, I think that the imagination usually just like kind of combination of different ideas constructed together. I would say, yeah.
The world is what you want it to be. There's only so much you can do with it. But if you look at gloom, and that's why you want to look, and I was looking at religion, and the aliens were tied in with the religion, and I was getting played, and then this was tying to that and this, and it's not about all that will tie together. If that's what you want to see. You're in the wishing tree. You're under the wishing tree, but the things don't appear from the tree. They appear within inside you. Do you know what I mean? That's what this world is. It's whatever we make it, but it's not made by us telling people to change it that way. It's each individual has to do it their way.
Yeah, it's her way, not your way.
Woman has rule over you, do they? Ever?
Yeah, you get it. It's their way, not your way.
Well, no, I don't really get it because it's stupid and you sure and things. Like, what is all that about?
Well, you think that it's like...
He's got a name like he's a person. Well, what's his address? Because I'd like to go and send him a letter and see if I can get a reply.
Yeah, because you that said that, are you sure? No, it was yes, you are. That's what it is like.
Well, how can you be religious and start spouting out scripture? I don't understand it. You see the contradictions there. I see. I don't know what everybody else sees.
I find it kind of contradicting, like when they say that everything has a creator.
Well, we know that.
The creator has no creator.
Well, that's the thing. If we think something has to always have existed, then why isn't it everything? Do you see what I'm saying to you? Why
God is everything then? We are a part of God. We're not a separate thing from God. That's the
we are God.
deception.
That's what I'm saying. We are that thing that continues to keep on going, that eternal light. All of life, not just us. Them things that stare back at you with the brain thinking exactly like us in a different form.
Everybody's come from a man and a woman, and it goes back, infinite regression. I would say because that's all we can experience.
Well, if you was on, say, the street trains park, right? I'm on the centre train and I'm going back 20 mile an hour backwards, and I'm sitting on the train, and all my life is on that train. But there's a train either side of us, and them trains going back at 100 mile an hour. So it looks like it would feel to me I'm going forward at 80 mile an hour. You see what I mean? So time is more like that. It feeds from one and feeds you what you want from. There's no direction, but it feels there's a direction. There's no direction of gravity, really.
Relativity, you mean?
Yeah, absolutely. That's dualism, relativity, isn't it, if you think about it? Like, how fast can you go without a reference point to where you're going from? See what I mean? And if that thing starts to move while you're going, are you still going at that speed?
Well, there's this thing that, that maybe God fragmented himself and he actually split himself into all these splinters, and we are one of those splinters or whatever.
Our brain cell, it's the same thing.
Itself in all these different ways or whatever.
It's the same thing.
But we just don't know that it's not in our direct experience, is it?
Well, have you ever wondered why a dog's got a flea? What is the point of the flea? Ever thought of that?
Like why a dog's got a flea, you say?
Why does the earth, all life, why do we need parasites?
Yeah, because everything, yeah.
Well, think about it, what's it there for?
It's just to be that thorn in the side, isn't it?
No, it's quite a hard one. It's like the chicken and the egg thing, but it's the same as the chicken and egg. You can figure it out. It's there. It's because it's what we are. We parasites. We live off the planet. Things live off us. As everything lives off something else.
Yeah, because it's just because they're just a smaller version of us.
But if we've got ego, we refuse to see that the actual nature of what we are is parasites, because we do it emotionally as well. Whatever we do.
There's a balance of everything. The way I was looking at, when I was thinking the other day, I was thinking we're infinitely small but infinitely large at the same time.
So what's that say to you then?
Well,
it's whichever way you want to look at yourself, isn't it? It's whichever way you want to look at yourself. You can judge yourself by the smallest things.
Yeah, because you can look inward and you can look outward. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's exactly the same. It doesn't make any difference. You'll find the same answers. It's how you look at it, but you've got to say the two together. You see what I mean? Whatever happens in the physical world is the same in the mental world. If there's an obstacle in front of something, I can't see past it. If I hate somebody, I can't see past the hate. It's the same. The same things in the physical world apply to the mental world.
Yeah, and we should all like stop comparing ourselves to someone else because there's always going to be someone worse off than you.
Well, the comparison is exactly that. There's no need to compare.
Yeah, because if somebody has some like a fancy car, that they might not even be very happy. You see a lot of these rich people, and they're not even happy because they're constantly worried about whether they're gonna lose money and stuff.
Yeah, but it's the same on both sides. There's a reflection of everything. It's like if I say to you, well, it's, you're nothing. Jimmy Brown's nothing. Now, for me to say that would have to suggest that I think I'm something. Do you see what I mean? So for me to call you nothing would give me the absolute opposite straight away to say I'm something.
Yeah.
But if I don't see it, if I'm blind, I don't see it because I've got a fucking ego or whatever. Do you know what I mean? There's something in the way of me.
Well, like I was saying before, the thing with the ego is like, everybody has it. It's just.
But you can't see because it's not real. It's constructed, so it's not a thing you'll ever see. But it does get in the way of stuff.
We just gotta keep it in check, haven't you?
Well,
I mean, you can't get rid of it. It's like you just gotta.
You can.
Because you say, you gotta, get rid of your ego. Well, if you look at the definition of an ego, it means
you have to become aware of it, don't you?
Yourself and everybody has an opinion of themselves, don't they?
That's not ego to me. Have an opinion of yourself.
Well, I mean, maybe
everybody else has an opinion of you.
Like have a good opinion of yourself, maybe.
Well, you could consider yourself
it has to be balanced, doesn't it?
You could consider yourself a badass and still have an ego. So egos, to me, would suggest that I'm looking at everybody else like they think certain things of me, not myself. Them, I'm looking at everything through other people's eyes.
So you mean as in like that? Do you think that people are gonna? It's like when you have an opinion about something. You think your opinion is the
right opinion.
If anyone else thinks something different, then you're gonna get offended at them or whatever.
Yeah.
And you need to learn to kind of let that go and just kind of be concerned about what is going to make you happy, really, and what's going to make other people happy as well.
Well, if it makes you happy, doesn't that just automatically make other people happy? If you walk into a room,
because people resonate with that, don't they? It's like if you're a musician and you hate your music, people aren't going to come to your show because you're just going to be miserable and you're going to be not showing passion,
But then you end up getting upset because other people aren't happy, and then you're trying to make them happy. So, and in the same time, how would you ever make yourself happy doing that?
You have to learn to, we just need to do what you enjoy. Then that in itself is going to attract the happiness from other people as well. But you've not got to really kind of be too focused on that because it's just going to happen.
I just think
anyway.
Happiness is more, for me now, is just a result of contentness. Do you know what I mean? I'm not looking for happiness, but it's just what I end up with. Sometimes I think I gloat a bit, but it's like as if I fucking cooked a rice pudding and left it in the sink overnight and then just washed the dirt off easily with no effort. Do you know what I mean? It's like that sort of thing. I feel like.
Well, again, balance.
So much easier now.
We've got to be content with what we've got, but to not rest on your laurels either.
Well, it depends what you need to get off your laurels for, doesn't it? Is it worth getting off them?
Yeah, if you have to kind of.
People's out to get us.
True.
If there's people out to get you, you worry about it when they come for you. You don't sit worrying about it when it hasn't happened or it's all in your mind. See what I mean? So there's only facts, isn't it? It's like you experience everything flat, don't you? You've seen fake shit from NASA. They're the fact. They say the world's flat or it's a ball. How can I say it's a ball?
Well, I mean, you could conceive it that way, or you could just conceive it that it was just by some coincidence that those clouds just happened to match perfectly.
It's like if I look out the door, right, I can, or behind that me door, me sitting room, I could say, well, I'd always know what's behind it if I open it, right? But there has been a time I've opened the door, my daughter stood there and frightened the shit out of us, so there's always the exception to the rule. Unless I open that door, I don't know what's behind it. Even if I can presume or have the logic that says there's nothing behind it, doesn't mean I'm always right, because there's always an exception to the rule.
Well, yeah, like, how do you know when you go out of the room that, Toy Story doesn't happen, Well,
you don't, yeah, but the likelihood of it's small, isn't it?
Because that's where the idea from Toy Story came from, because it was, how do we really know what's going on when we turn our backs?
Well, if you want to believe that that's going on, but if you wanted to believe, let's say this is how the mind works, if you wanted to believe that was going on, toys were getting up and walking about, you might see something in that room when you go back in that you don't remember being there, and automatically you'll tie it to them toys were walking about.
It's like with ghosts and things like that, people find a confirmation bias to believe that ghosts have been around the house. else.
Or even religion's the same, isn't it? It's like, I'm not knocking religion, people. It's like, fair dues if that's what they want to believe in, that there's somebody else that talks to them, that nobody else can see but just them. That's fine, but it's not what I experience in real life. Do you know what I mean? But if it gets them to the same place of being a nice person, because some people say, well, I'm religious, and then they knock around together as if Jesus comes back and they say, oh, he didn't believe in, I've sorted him out for you. I've treated him like a piece of shit, and this one here, he didn't believe in you neither, and I treated him like a piece of shit. It's like, what's the point? You see what I mean? Are they believing in what they believe in? Are they making it up for themselves? Because if they want to hate you, they should just hate you. They shouldn't hate you because Jesus wouldn't like you. We use other things for what we want.
Well, yeah, what is it? Dave Murphy, he was saying something about how that the white race, descended from the Nephilim or something, and so I made a response, and I was like, that's not really fair. I was saying,
I've seen it.
I wasn't really accusing him as being racist or anything. I was just saying it's like, it's not really a fair thing to say that.
Well, you did.
I didn't really say that.
Really?
Well, I was just questioning him on it, what he said.
Right, Jamie, I don't think you're racist, right? But he's the but, so you turn. You done a video after that, and I was watching Hangout, and he says maybe we shouldn't be breeding together, didn't you? Can you remember that one? He says maybe we are from different tribes. Maybe we shouldn't mix. We should keep it pure.
But you. Yeah, I do remember that. I do remember saying that actually. Yeah,
so that is a racist thing to say.
But you might kind of consider. That's what I was saying. You might consider what he said as being right. Well, you might consider that as being. I mean, if anyone had any objections to that, it'll be fine.
Yeah. I'm not pulling you for it. I'm just stating something that's out there. So what I'm saying is,
I get what you're saying because it's like you're comparing that with what he said,
and then you doing exactly the same.
Yeah.
So I thought about this. I'm just getting onto the point because I know you're not a racist because I know Jamie Brown. I've talked to you, but for somebody who just watched that bit out of context, could look like you. Do you see what I'm saying here?
Yeah, because that's what it's just like. Because
in the sun, Jamie, black skin is superior to white. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, but in not when it's not sun.
Yeah.
But apparently what it was, he was reading like the Genesis or something, but
that's when they go into belief, a book again. See what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's it. It's like.
So here's the thing. I used to think we were all different colours, different shapes, different sizes, like Chinese, all this, because somebody had bred us like dogs. They had put us into little different parts, like, because we get it in dogs. We get poodles, we get Rottweilers, we get all these different types of dogs. Now, I thought about it is, I see it happening. People separate themselves right now.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's like that they section themselves off from other people.
So in the early days, before we had more, like, in the way of intellect, it would have just been on look.
Yeah, so language was a big thing that separated people. It sectioned different, kind of tribes and things off from each other, and it kind of caused division and stuff like that.
So if you look the same, you'd come to this tribe. So that would have been in the beginning. Now it's beliefs. If you believe something different, you're in this group, and if you don't believe something in that group. So we divide ourselves up. The world divides, the cells divide. We continue to do the same patterns through life. Everything divides, everything dies, falls away, and new ones keep arising. We're not the same people we were when we were born. We're not the baby anymore. We've changed. We don't look the same. So everything does that same process.
But you were saying that you thought that I was saying he was being racist.
On the first one.
When I made a video response.
So I remember it, yeah. He says it's racist to say this thing about the Bible.
Well, I think what I was saying is the reverse racism, but then again, that might be
that's the same thing, Jimmy. Well, I'll point a couple of things out to you, because I'm not having a go at you, but I will point these things out.
Yeah, I know you're not having a go. You just kind of...
I'm just being honest with you. I say if I do something, I would expect you to say the same to me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is, I noticed from that video, you kept mentioning black and white. Right, now, you didn't say difference in colour, so you've also just took a section of black and white. You see what I mean?
Yeah, true, because someone actually put saying, what about the Asians? What about the yellow people?
Exactly.
But I did actually mention different colours of eyes, if I remember.
Yeah, well, it's that you just divide. You can keep dividing as much as you want.
There's actually kind of, because when you actually see the detail that there isn't just one colour anyway. I mean, there's no such thing as pure white people.
Well, do you know when you see the difference?
It's a gradient. It's just a gradient, isn't it? Really.
Well, do you know when
even then, if you look closely at them, they've probably got black in them.
But there's no them. It's just people. If you know what I mean. There's no
No, I mean, as
these
in people in general. I mean,
right now,
as in like.
and I am when I
As
say
in people have like it's just our experience of them. We see someone has black skin, someone has white skin, someone has red skin, whatever. That's our subjective experience of it.
But we point out the
You know?
differences instead of similarities. We've got more that we have got the same than we've got different. The colour of the skin is small. All the other things, like
But I think that the point
heart.
of it is why did he really need to kind of if it didn't really matter that much about the colour of someone's skin, why did he really need to mention it?
Well, the same goes exactly for you then, doesn't it? Why did you need to make the video if it didn't mean anything?
Yeah, true. It was just something it was just kind of
I understand
the thing
Jamie,
I was just
understand
thinking about, and
here's the thing about it, right? Now, think of this one. If a man shouts racism and the person doesn't recognise it as such, it has no effect. Now, if the other person recognises it and causes a fight, right? Now, it's because he recognises it. It's a thing. It's become a thing because two people have recognised it. All the other man is just shouting words if you don't recognise it. So when you was doing that, I was watching Vegan Warrior. I think it might be the night before, 2 nights after. And he was doing exactly the same as you. He was saying, oh, we should never forget the white man persecute his ancestors. And the white man, and I'm thinking, he's doing the same. He's saying, Uso's woke up and then he's dying his beard black and he's fucking, I've got to go and watch fucking Game of Thrones. And I'm thinking, this man's supposed to be conscious and he's woke up and he's doing all this fucking talking this shit. So I just don't subscribe.
I mean, I'll probably kind of, take back that thing I said before about about the people shouldn't mix because, I think that was probably just another mind virus program thing that I still had. And
well, it is. It's just reflecting on things.
It's just not.
But isn't it like everything?
In the big picture, it doesn't really matter because we're all still human at the end of the day, and we're all.
And what matters?
Color is just a kind of it's just an adaptation, really, isn't it? If you go in the sun, you're gonna burn up and you're gonna get tanned. If you go in the light, so you don't really go.
Everything that you've said about that and me coming on here and saying that to you is for you to change. It's not for anybody else. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
You said that because this has come round because what I'm saying, you've said that because you need to hear this here right now, or the other comments of other people, not just me. Everything that's been said.
Yeah, because it's like I put out a criticism, so then I can hear it reflected back on me.
Well, you're honest, Jamie. So I know when someone said to you, it's not took to heart, it's not fucking chucked back, it's considered.
Yeah, because I could have gotten triggered and
And some people don't want to hear that. They don't want to admit, oh well, I was in the wrong. And you're the fucking biggest man, Jamie, when you say, well, I do realise that was wrong because that's what I've had to do. And I've had to do it a lot. So just a couple of little things. Don't think anything of that. Do you know what I mean? Because fuck me.
We're still, like I was saying, and it's come full circle about not getting bogged down in the little details.
Yeah.
Because that's not what we are. We are.
Life's amazing, Jamie. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, again, you can believe or you don't have to believe. But we are special in some way. We're able to kind of make our reality the way we want it to be. I appreciate the what would call it, devil's advocate.
It's just an observation, isn't it? I'm not being the devil's advocate. I'm not trying to bring up a point of view. I'm just telling you what.
Yeah, because that's like a kind of when you say words like devil's advocate, it kind of there's kind of the words that devil, it's kind of, but it's just like you're just trying to be helpful in some way, and I appreciate that.
It's just being honest, isn't it? If you're not honest, if you can't look at yourself honestly and know yourself, how the fuck could you ever know anything about anybody else? Do you know what I mean?
And Dave Murphy did actually reply, and he said that was I should saying something about that I should have researched and looked into bloodlines and stuff like that, and how like how it was the ego and stuff, but it's kind of when you said that, it was like it kind of hit me, it kind of, I was like touche,
Well, it's not a duel, it's not a competition, it's nothing, none of those.
No, I mean, you get what I'm saying. It's like that.
Yeah, little smack in the face.
Point taken, because
it was a little slap, like whoop, I wasn't expecting that one.
Yeah, because that was fair. Because I do remember saying that was like how long ago would that be? Like, if not more. And I said that because I think that was that long hangout we did, and it was pretty interesting.
Yeah, it's like I know you, Jamie. You know what I mean? So I know what you were saying was wrong, but the intent behind it was perfectly innocent. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah,
I wasn't trying to. I know that. That's why I highlighted that before I mentioned mentioned it. You know what I mean? So if anybody else has picked up on it, at least it enlightens them as well.
Well, there was something else that I said earlier that might have been kind of, cause for a bit of controversy about the not domesticating animals, but I don't know, that was just my opinion.
So what is your opinion on domesticated animals? They shouldn't be.
Well, I think that they shouldn't have been, because why do we kind of, because they've domesticated them, and they need us, it's like, this is what the psychopaths do, right? What they do is they make their prey so weak that they need them, they let them feel so weak that they need them. So what they've done is they've made the animals so that they need us. They wouldn't come to us naturally, would they? They would just do their own thing.
Jimmy. It's like, I went and got my cat. Now I regret getting the cat.
I mean, animals in general, they would just do their own thing.
Yeah, but
we're putting them inside a prison, and because they,
Have you seen a film, Kez?
No, I've not.
It's about a kid from in the 70s, and he climbed up and gets a kestrel. It's a good film. It's like real life of the times, if you know what I mean. Anyways, but that's what we used to do as kids. We used to go out and we'd burn. I never really, my mates did, but they get chicks out of nests and train them and things. And it would just take animals from the wild, and people would have magpies, and people just take things and they want them, and then there was no there making people do it. People want what they see instead of respecting it for what it is and leaving it alone and enjoying it that way. For some reason, owning it or thinking that you own something is better. It's like stuffing an animal. It never looks like the thing it was.
Yeah.
Like things in the natural habitat are beautiful. Do you know what I mean? A bird flying.
Yeah, but when stuff's being took out of the natural habitat, they probably won't function as well.
Well, my mate had 2 European eagle owls in a pen. He never took them out. One of them escaped. I mean, these were beautiful animals. One of them escaped and somebody brought it back because it couldn't fly. You see what I mean? It's living its life in a fucking cage. That's not fair.
Well, I was looking at this. I was looking at this on this, because I was looking on the internet, and there was this kind of when it clicked on a site, and it had this it was going on about how if you had like a small insect or something inside a jar, and it could jump really high, but because it's contained within the jar, it would only be able to go up so high, and if you took it out of the jar, it would still only jump as high because that's all it thinks it is. Yeah,
but then if you look at animal behaviour, look at pigeons. About superstition. So if a pigeon does something and it gets a feed, and it just in that moment lifts a wing, it'll lift its wing all the time, thinking it's going to get a feed, whether it does or not, because it did them first few times. You know what I mean? And then people start tying random bets in like that. Do you know what I mean? Become superstitious about stuff, and then that's when you go off into the belief shite. It's like when you use truth, you can sort of understand the world a lot fucking simpler. Without looking at the detail, looking for what they are. Simplify them into the simplest thing. Stop looking at the details. Stop dissecting it. If you've got a cat there, haven't you, Jamie?
Yeah.
What's its name?
But some people are like, well, you need to start kind of making things more kind of detailed after a while, because then it would just get boring, because you have to kind of change it up. And
what's your cat's name? Has it got a name? What's your cat's name?
I'm just kind of I'm just saying, some may think that way.
What?
People start kind of making more like detailed things, because.
But what's the point? That's what I'm trying to say. Is if I wanted to know
for more kind of because then people can put their own spin on it and stuff.
But isn't the point of trying to find out all these details for better understanding? And it's because we're looking at the detail, we're not getting the understanding. We're looking at all the little things, and we're not looking at the bigger picture. It's like your cat. If I wanted to know your cat, I could dissect it. I could know loads about the cat. I could know how many hairs it has. I could know things about its skin, the cells.
True. I mean, obviously in that way,
ever know the cat. I'd never know.
Yeah, exactly.
And we need to know the cat, not fucking what it's made of, because getting measurements and.
Well, yeah, because people, most people are guilty of it, is over analysing things.
Yeah, which is there. It's there for a reason. We're getting used. It's to find out why you're here, not to fucking measure it all.
Yeah, because it's about kind of like you said, seeing the big picture, and it's just so obvious, but people are just not seeing it because they're so focused on the little details.
Yeah,
and that's what the psyop is. And even in the flat earth, there's probably psyops when people are kind of doing these, kind of splitting her, measurements and things like that.
But
I do agree. It's like, what's this really going to do for humanity? Or for yourself even? what's it really going to achieve? Trying to prove that there's this not this slight bit of curve where it should be or whatever, or vice versa. That they think that they've seen a curve when then that proves that it's a ball. I mean, it's what are they going to really achieve out of that?
These are the thing. Do you see a curve?
Of knowing that.
Do you see a curve, Jamie? Because I don't. Do you?
Well, there's no such thing as like a curve really in nature, I don't think, because if you looked sort of closely at it, it would kind of appear to kind of just be like a bunch of particles and things, wouldn't it?
Well, isn't everything nature? It all came from somewhere, didn't it?
Yeah.
If a spider builds a web, is that part of nature? If we build a car, is that part of nature?
Well, everything is. I mean, what's your definition of nature?
Well, that's what I'm asking you. And what difference does it make? Do you know what I mean?
Well, there's no stopping nature, I'd say. So, even when people say unnatural, well, what's unnatural? I mean,
yeah,
it's all probably intentional.
Well, if I go to a tribe where they just wear a little loincloth and I wear a big blue hat, and everybody here wears a big blue hat, I'll go to their tribe, I'll become unnatural. They come to my city, they become unnatural. So it's a point of view, isn't it?
Yeah.
I suppose it's what the consensus is, unnatural. But do you think he's one for you? Do you know Isaac Newton? Why are we using things that he come up with all them years ago? Yet we've got computers, supercomputers, so can't we redo it? And how did he get it back then? And we can't just use the same methods of nothing.
So you're saying as in that kind of debunks the Newtonian physics then or something?
I'm saying where's the validation for it? And how can it be validated back then? And we just go along with it. Why isn't it validated now after all this time? With all the machinery?
Yeah, it's like, why has it took all the time? If they got it back then, why was there such a big gap between then and then validation?
Well, we still using it.
There's been more and more validation over the years, more and more kind of obvious proof, I suppose.
Well, we're still using them proofs from 500 years ago now, then that means...
Especially with these Aristotle's experiments and stuff, and it's like...
That's ridiculous.
How could anyone have believed that they were living on a globe 2,000 years ago?
Tell you what, this is how
taking 2 sticks and putting them in the ground and calculating the shadows.
So could somebody now, without knowing from knowledge the distance of the cities, because this was just paced out, wasn't it? So you're pacing up and down hills, round things, over things, but yet somehow them paces stayed equal. Even though there was that many of them, stayed equal and precise all the way to where he went. And then somehow they knew that they were taking the measurement at the same time. Were they using sticks in the ground to get the time somehow, and then shouting is yours there and is mine here? It's like, how does that even possible? Because you'd have to know what one stick was reading at the same time.
Some people think the flat Earth's like a clock, but you don't agree with that because you don't believe the circular flat Earth thing with, like where the sun's going around.
No, I don't know.
Like a clock handle.
Do I need to believe one or the other?
Well, it doesn't really matter, does it? At the end of the day, it's just...
I just don't know. Simple as that.
Because as far as we can tell, the Earth ends at the horizon, and as we move it, we create a bit more of it, but we lose a bit of the bit that we've gone away from, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, but I've never experienced anything because I've never been that far. Do you know what I mean? So.
But I mean, in your subjective bubble,
yeah,
and you move a mile, where you then experience, another mile in front of you, but you lose a mile behind you, or whatever.
Well, isn't it
so it's like you're just creating your own reality. That's how I see it. And the shape of the Earth is just subjective to where you are.
Well, he's an experiment. He's an experiment.
That's the only really way I can kind of think of it now, because if it was supposed to be found out what shape the Earth is, then it would be really easy to do that, and it's not. And even the flat Earth, it's definitely flat. Well, how do you know that the whole thing is completely flat? And you might say, well, gyroscopes and all that, but
couldn't you test it? If you took a gyroscope on a train and you had a plumb line on a train, doesn't matter that you're on land or not sea, because over a certain amount of distance you'd still be going over the same curve because you're not miles up, and you would have a plumb line pointing straight down for gravity, wouldn't you? So the gyroscope would move off from the plumb line from the station you start off. If you went 100 mile, it should be quite a difference from the plumb line being down to what the gyro started, wouldn't it? I don't think they would object for you taking a gyroscope on a train. If you put on a gimbal, what you would put a camera on so it doesn't be affected by any of the jerking, it would prove it, wouldn't it? One way or another.
All right.
Can you see what I'm saying? Because as you're going 100 mile, that's a quite a bend that you're going over on a railway track.
But how would they? Well, obviously they would justify it by gravity, wouldn't they?
Well, the gravity wouldn't be straightening it up, would it? It's
but you were saying that it's whatever you believe in it, and you'll justify it somehow.
Well, you'll ignore proofs, don't you?
Oh yeah, that's what it is. You'll just ignore, and then you're saying that we'll ignore.
It's that comparison thing, isn't it? Well,
so do you believe it's like a kind of what you call it, like a dual astronomy or something like that, where
no, the world is always on the
it's
edge.
a globe and flat at the same time.
It's whatever you want it to be. There's enough evidence to chuck you either direction. You see what I mean? Everything.
So it can't be two at the same time.
Everything you experience is like that, is it not? Like if your woman cheats on you, you don't know whether she's cheated. Yeah, for sure. You don't know things about other things other than yourself. The only thing you...
Well, she might even justify why she's done what she's done and doesn't see it as cheating or whatever.
Yeah, but if it's not in your experience, you don't know, do you? For sure, because you could be admitting to something you didn't do. So it's like, you always, whether you believe it or not, if you want to go down
I was thinking, this kind of Pac-Man model, I was thinking, well, because I think it was something that Ireland von Vicious was suggesting as well, that it maybe if you go from like west to east, you don't literally come back to the same spot, but you go into a looped reality where like there's like identical copies of everything.
And he knows this how?
No, he didn't say he knows it. It was just kind of
made up.
It was just like an idea.
Yeah.
But he believes in concave, to be honest. So he was just saying that's how it could work.
Yeah, could. It's all what if, maybes, and buts, isn't it? It's like just experience what it is.
But yeah, it's just one way of justifying it, as in like if you know, it was just an idea like that if you was to fly on a plane and you just kind of those people that you like, you know, that are in this reality are the same.
Jamie, do you know in medieval times when they invented the sword and the wheel and all this stuff, do you think there was a point when they built the castle and moats and all these slings that shot weapons and all this? Do you think at that point there they thought it doesn't get any better than this? We are at the cutting edge here right now. Do you think they might have thought that because of what came before?
Yeah, because they can't conceive of anything else.
Yeah, they're at the edge of it there. They're at the utmost technology. They can't say further because they've never accomplished it. So because we accomplished this, now think of this. Are we in a state where we cannot prove what we're living on at this point in time? So it could be another 500 years before we get the technology that would allow it to happen. So are we...
Because when people talk about all these other dimensions, maybe we'll start to actually find proof of these things, or not proof, but like...
yeah, but what I mean is, could you be that man that's talking about television 1,000 years before it happened and worried about it, yet never experiencing it because it's not happening for another 1,000 years? So could we be arguing about the shape of the earth that's never going to be proven to us in our lifetime, or not for another 500 years? Is that where we're at now? Because unless there's some way we can think how they can prove it to us, we're just pissing against the wind, aren't we? In dimension-wise, finding out the earth, not the lies, because the lies are the thing that need to be exposed. Shape of the earth has no relevance to me whatsoever, unless I'm going to leave my ball on top of it and it's going to roll off the bottom or something. It's like, I don't get what the shape has to do with anything. And there's people making money out of this as well, isn't there? Saying that.
What, this flat earth stuff, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, putting super chats on and stuff.
So I'm listening to something the other night, and Patricia Stay comes on and she talks about, they're talking on websites like how you should pay for it and like it shouldn't be getting charged and there's money being made, and like they would call you anyways, even if you paid for it, they would call you a show off. Well, why don't you try doing that one first? Why don't you try laying it on and see if anybody calls you a show off, or like do it after this one? Do you know what I mean? See if you get called a show off, because it's all about the money. People will justify it because when you start working them tickets out and the price, it's phenomenal. You can buy a house with the money that's getting generated. Now, if it's about truth, why does anybody need to make any money out of it? Just pay for themselves, don't they?
Yeah, I think that if they need money, then that's like kind of they're still stuck in the system.
Absolutely, because money is the root of all evil. Name one evil thing that would happen, unless it's like a perversion that isn't done for money.
But it's not the money itself that's the root of all evil. It's the want of money, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's the use of money. If I want drugs, I have to pay for it, don't I?
Why it's needed.
So if you want drugs, you have to pay for it. So the drugs have to be paid for. Prostitutes, you have to pay for them. If you want somebody killed, have to pay for it. If you want this done, have to pay for it. It's all about money. So we need a different thing. It doesn't.
Yeah, because money fuels greed, doesn't it?
Yeah, and those who justify it want it because they get some pleasure out of it.
And those who want it justify it.
Absolutely, by ignoring certain things. It's not that the things are not there. Truth's always in front of you, all the time. It always has been. It's whether you want to hear it or ignore it. And you hear it. Like any little criticism I made to you, you took on board. Other people will deflect.
Yeah, they'll like,
kick off.
Insta band, for...
If you you kick me off here because you don't like what I'm saying, you're the one running away. I'm not going nowhere. But it makes it look like I'm the one who's getting chucked away, but you're running away from me. Do you see what I mean? Because you're the one in control. So if you flick me off here and says, shut up, you fucking idiot, and chuck us off, it's because you running away, not me.
Yeah, it's you. I mean, it'd be me that's like, so I can't face up to a criticism. That kind of shows how weak you are as a person.
Insecure, it's looking for them reassurances.
Yeah.
That's what makes everybody stronger, not looking for that. Once you cut all that behind, you don't need it no longer. You become a stronger person. You don't need the system. You start seeing the bullshit. All this, you need the system to help this and all the fucking fake news. I'm not saying it's fake because I don't know, but it certainly looks fucking dodgy. Do you know what I mean? Overdo stuff that plays up to be more than what it is all the time. Like somebody punches us in the face outside the fish shop. It was terrorists because he was brown. He was a terrorist. Stole me chips.
Yeah.
You steal yours as well, like Jamie.
Pardon?
Terrorists steal your chips as well.
What?
It doesn't matter. What are you doing?
What am I doing now?
Yeah, sounds like you're farting or something.
No, I'm not. Or maybe you're farting and you want to blame me.
Well, that's the deflection. You could kick us off because it stinks. So they've been doing a bit more lately, like outdoors and stuff.
Pardon?
I noticed you haven't had as many hangouts lately. I just wonder whether you've been doing a bit more, like outside, enjoying yourself.
Like what is it, just like living life and stuff?
Yeah, bike riding, getting out, meeting people.
I went out on a bike ride the other day. I went for like a decent long ride. Been running, walking, just kind of getting active, really just.
Do you find yourself taking more of the environment in, like being more observant when you're running along, appreciating it more, that sort of stuff, or not?
Yeah, I mean, it is obviously good, but in moderation, isn't it? But then again, like you would say, well, we don't really need this stuff. This is just, this is just tools of the elite, isn't it?
What stuff you on about?
Like the internet and all that. And
yeah, I mean, we do need it because it's the way we are. If we were the way we were supposed to be, we wouldn't need it. You see what I mean? It's like we would be talking to our neighbours rather than finding a few people that's like-minded. Everybody would be like-minded, so it wouldn't matter where you go.
Well, yeah, everyone would have something that they can agree on or something. Like,
yeah,
not everyone, everyone would find something in common with someone else, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's what we need to do. We need to stop separating and saying this person is different to us. We need to look at the things that's similar to us and pull ourselves together. Things are created by pulling things together, not separating them apart. Lies are destroyed by pulling them apart.
So what do you think would happen in a kind of ideal kind of utopia or whatever?
Well, there's no such thing as an ideal utopia. It's all subjective, isn't it? So
yeah, I mean, but isn't that in your kind of ideal reality? What would?
Well, I'm in it because I can't do anything about it, so I have to deal with it. Do you see what I mean?
So I mean, in your ideal reality, what would?
This is the ideal reality. It's what you do with it. I find it absolutely amazing now. I sit and watch some of these hangouts and I just sit back.
But you were saying in an ideal world we wouldn't. I mean, I think you're saying in a natural world we wouldn't have this stuff.
Oh, natural world, yeah. Well, it would be the same thing. You'd still be observing patterns, wouldn't you? But it wouldn't be. You wouldn't be joining these artificial symbolism patterns together. You'd be joining the patterns of nature together, the patterns of behaviour within the environment. You'd be sensitive to the environment, which I'm becoming now.
Well, the question is, why are we on here right now using these, kind of gadgets and things?
Well, I'm only using it to communicate. So if you was in front of us, I wouldn't have this on. So it's not I need it on, I want it on. I want to talk to you. I don't need to talk to you. I want to. Do you know what I mean? Because I sit listening to you and there's certain things I think you need to hear and I need your response from them because I would like to know what your response is, and it was a beautiful response.
So you believe in telepathy and stuff like that?
Not say it's your perception of stuff. No, I believe in a connection, but not in a telepathy. I know what Jamie Brown's thoughts are. What I could say,
communicating with people on a. Well, I suppose it's more about kind of. I mean, we can't really communicate with people that are. I mean, without this stuff, we wouldn't be able to communicate with people far away. That's the only thing. So unless there's something that we're missing.
I can tell you what I'm experiencing right now with certain people, not on the internet in real life, because it might be through the internet as well. But it's. Do you know when somebody's looking at you and you turn around and they're staring at you, and it's a feeling you have? Have you had that? Have you had anybody staring at you, turn around and they are looking at you, and you could feel it?
All right, Pete wants to come on. We're gonna wrap up at 9, but I can keep it going a bit longer. I mean, because when it's interesting, I like to keep it going because
What time is it now, Jamie?
Well, that's the thing. It's best to not kind of plan to go live for an amount of time because then you're rushing to say everything you want to say, isn't it?
That's the whole thing I'm saying about you just let things flow. Do you know what I mean? You go nowhere, you just cut off, don't you? Yeah. Because
if you was making it for it last a certain amount of time, then you would have to work harder to try and fit it all in, and then it wouldn't be as good.
It's just an experience, isn't it? So this little chat here, it's just an experience, and you take away from it what you do. But whatever you take away from this, or whatever, the way it works for me now is it's on reflection. I don't react to things. I like to reflect on them later when things are nice and calm. If I can keep that calmness, I can reflect straight away. If I get emotional about it, it changes the way I look at things. It's like stormy waters. If you get angry, all your waters get stormy. Everything looks distorted. You act a certain way. You keep that reflection flat and straight. You're sensitive to stuff.
Yeah.
So when somebody gets upset around us, I can sense it just before it happens because my heart starts beating fast and there's no reason for it. I can feel it. It's fucking strange. It's really strange. But if I was before, I would have been reacting like I was reacting to it. Because I don't react to it, I just feel my heart beating. It's a weird, it's strange. I can't really explain it to you unless you've had it yourself.
Yeah.
Hey, Pete.
Greetings, Mick. How you doing?
I'm doing great, actually.
So
are you?
Yeah, not too bad, man. We haven't spoken in a long while. It's good to hear you chatting away with Jamie there. Always interesting stuff to
So no drama between you two anymore then?
Absolutely not. I've got big respect for Pete there now. Not in the dodo thing. I'm still not into that. But Pete, I've got to say, massive respect. Like, you've been walking the walk. You know what I mean? And that fucking means more to me than what you talk about.
Well, I appreciate it, Mick. We're all in this together, you know. But we're all, as you mentioned, we're all coming at it from different roads completely, you know. So that's the biggest thing to try and untangle. And as I think we all know in our hearts, we have to simplify everything. When everything comes down to a few simple basics, when we can shake off all of the detritus and all the shit that's been implanted within our thinking and our beings since our last innocence as children. You see, as children, we're in a hole as children, and we become corrupted and divided by this fake illusory world we're in. But no, great to talk to you, man, and I appreciate your sentiments there. Cool.
But you know that purity of children you talk about, isn't that always within us? The corruption is something that's been added to it.
Right, fundamentally and absolutely, Mick. And I've often said it as well in my own hangouts, and I believe it fully. I even don't like, you know it yourself, we don't like using words or specific words anymore because we know that there's a connotation to them. So by me saying a word and knowing exactly what I mean in the hearing, it might come across differently. You know, so I definitely tend to tread more carefully. I don't even like using the word God these days, to be honest, you know, and that seems like a bad thing to say, Mick, but it ties into what we have to go back to the very basic, the very beginning when we knew everything and we've just forgotten, you know. And it's by exploring that pathway into the past that we come across these pure truths, and that's literally and I suppose metaphorically as well. So that's important. And of course, in childhood, there is that ultimate innocence and that ultimate simpleness, not in a derogatory sense, but in a beautiful sense, you know.
But do you think we're supposed to remember, Pete? Because when you walk across a beach and the waves go over it, those footprints disappear, they never come back, do they? So
but Mick, what is a beach?
it's grains of sand, isn't it?
You see, in my mind now, and this is, again, we're all speaking from our own individual point of view, and we'll all have crazy or out there things to say, but it's the mark of, I think, an open mind anyway, to say the least. Consider everything before you can either take it on board or leave it behind. But when I think of a beach now, I think of destruction. I think of a time in the not so distant past when everything was different, and then we had a mass destruction. When you walk upon the beach, you're walking upon the sawdust of the crystalline trees that were a reality. So, you know, that's just to put a different twist to it. So in one sense, our footsteps along the beach are an unnatural thing, and it's no bad thing not to be covered up.
Well, this is what I was saying to Jamie earlier is, what was I saying? Fucking hell. I do this all the time, don't I? I fucking start on something and I forget what I was on about.
We all do that, man. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, them grains of sand on the beach.
We're now into
the visions of hell. The visions of hell would be death and bodies of the dead all over, and you'd be walking on skulls and dead things. Now the world is that. It's all the dead things that was here before us, isn't it? And one time, you was that little grain of sand on the beach, because when Pete is buried in the ground and his body goes, doesn't eventually that sea will come in, and there will only be one grain left at some point, and that'll be took up by something else, and then it'll reform again, won't it?
Well, I personally don't give a fuck what happens to my body after I leave it, man. So whether it's...
No, but what I'm sort of saying is you're never going to here.
yeah, we're divided, Mick, you know, but the one thing is we're in such a dismembered state, you know, so we're very limited in any sort of bigger picture, or being able to even formulate or contemplate a bigger picture. And even if you could contemplate a bigger picture, how would you know if there was any reality attached to it? So this is the sort of the handicapped position we're in, but I think purposefully as well, you know, and I think most of us will be able to testify, especially over the last few years, and especially since you've come into Flat Earth, that you're after finding a whole different person within and reality without. So lots of different considerations surely must come to the individual, but I don't think there's anyone honest and genuine who will look back and say, I prefer the older person, you know what I mean? Because everything's about context. So yeah, you know, it's perfectly well, I think it's actually impossible, Mick. It was perfectly possible for that sort of to be a part of my thinking when I was a heliocentric science man, but now I know there's a different thing going on, and I know indeed it's far more wondrous than we're capable of even considering. I think if we knew it, it would blow our minds, and this is what we're going through now, is this process of awakening I've talked about, and everything I talk about is in earnest. So I might be completely and absolutely wrong, but it's where I'm at in my thinking. But yeah, I've talked about the 420 years since the dodo was discovered in 1598, and by the way, Jesus, Mick, since our last conversation regarding dodo, boy, have I come. I could have wrote a book in between.
They watch you played. Here's one for you. I don't know whether you're aware of this. I watched the Pirates of the Caribbean. You know about the island and all this stuff. But did you know Paul McCartney was in it?
Was he?
He has a cameo in it, fucking Paul McCartney. I'm thinking, oh, fucking, I shouldn't tell Pete this.
I told you this is all. Well, I did say this is all coming.
I'm interested. No, I'm not saying I believe any of this that you go on about, and it's fascinating. Honestly, I find it fascinating, but I'm not a follower, right? But I am interested. So, with the Paul McCartney significance, does it have any significance on the thing that you have?
Well, listen to this full of significance, even in my own avatar. Will you just show my own avatar on the screen there, Jamie, for a second? And I was told, wait till you hear this, Mick, because you asked me that question, right? Let me just click in it myself. And this is just a small part of where I've come as well. So anyway, when I discovered the dodo, the walrus was Paul, and it's a walrus moustache. The walrus represents death as well. And we know about the Paul is dead conspiracy, if you will. It's all theater. It's all part and parcel of a bigger game. But anyway, to cut to the chase, the walrus is Paul. The walrus was a moustache, but it was pointing up at the dodo's wing, right? And emerging from the dodo's wing was the hidden hand. So the bigger story was being told in this allegoric fashion, you know, metaphoric fashion. Anyway, getting to the Paul McCartney thing. Not only did he play a major role in the dodo, when the Beatles broke up, he went on to form a band. Do you remember what band he formed, Mick? Okay, maybe you're away or something. Well, I'll tell you what band. It was Paul McCartney and Wings, you remember? So, yeah, okay, am I still...
Oh, well, you...
No, okay, Mick might... Okay, you can hear me, Jamie, that's fine. You can probably hear me. He's making a cup of tea or something. Anyway.
So you wanted to show us, because you said you wanted to screen share or something?
Just my avatar here. So it stays up on the screen. Oh, that's perfectly fine. I'm getting to the point now. So anyway, Paul McCartney went and formed the band Wings after the Beatles broke up. And again, I announced the Sgt. Pepper's 50-year puzzle solved. It's literally solved with the walrus's Paul and the walrus's moustache pointing up to the North Center. And anyway, get to the point. He went on and created the band Wings. And if you look just above the dodo's wing here, I already said that the dodo, before I saw this even, Jamie, I already said that the dodo represents the flat earth map. And the tip of South America is the tip of the bill, and it rolls up and around. And exactly where above the dodo's wing, I said China and Russia are as you go over towards Africa on the right. Anyway, if you look just above the wing, and I've been through this, I magnified it, and clearly you can see USSR just above the wing. And Paul McCartney from Wing went on to have a hit back in the USSR. Back, as in back, on the dodo's back. I already identified Paul as the dodo. Paul is dead as a dodo. So this is the coding gone on.
I thought it was the Beatles. It's on the Beatles Blue album, isn't it? Back in the USSR.
But yeah, but I mean, the thing is, like when you looking at these things, like you might be trying to keep looking until you find some kind of association or whatever.
Absolutely true, Jamie. And that's
But I mean, as in, like, you might try and like
see something that's not there, yeah.
get your confirmation bias.
Exactly, I'm perfectly aware of that, and believe me, I'm the last person I want to fool. But of course, the point about this is go out on the street and tell someone you're a flat earther, you're labeled crazy automatically, Jamie. We know we're not crazy, right, for thinking the earth is flat. All you can do, listening to what I have to say on any particular matter, is maybe make a general or greater judgment on my sanity or insanity, then take the information as you find, and that's what I'm saying. All I've done regarding the dodo is sort of documented, in a sense, my own ongoing pathway through this puzzle, that it is a puzzle of grand proportions. There's no doubt anymore. I mean, when I solved the Economist 2015 cover hidden puzzle, I don't even know if anyone else had seen the puzzle, not to mind solved it, but it's there and it's clear. And when I knew what the solution would be after I re-looked at it, and of course the solution turned out to be Mauritius and the dodo, but we'd already moved much further. And that's on an international magazine owned by the Rothschild. Would you believe that the Rothschilds apparently commissioned this dodo? So that's another connection to them. Why would the USSR be on the back of the dodo in any other context? And also exactly in the place I said it would be if the dodo represented the face of the flat earth after the flood. Remember that there was a flood at a point in history is not denied, right? I'm just saying it's much closer. That's why, because the dodo never existed, that's why the dodo was said to be discovered in the year it was, 1598. After that, then you find that the Bible, King James Bible, the works of Shakespeare, a lot of the great pieces of art from history come into existence post 1600. Nico Haupt has a book called Google 1649. And if you haven't looked into the premise of it anyway, you should definitely do that, because it talks about no primary source material predating this year, 1649. So no matter what you may think of, you cannot find any primary source material coming from before that time, which raises a big question mark over, well, exactly how long is history? What is the real story here? And the way I see it, once you get the flat earth, right, and you're looking for the greater answers, you have to get to the dodo then. Once you get to the flat earth, the dodo await, right? Even in the shape of the Gleason's map, they always showed you upside down because they know it's sort of in your face. Alice in Wonderland tells us everything is mirrored. So just flip it around on your own paint or something and you'll see a dodo popping out at you. Imagine draining some of the water away. And then you'll see areas like the Mediterranean filled in. We know, Mick, that there was a land bridge, or at least I was taught this in school. There was a land bridge between England and Ireland and England and mainland Europe. And then you hear about Doggerland, a big area of land in the North Sea. So yeah, I'm saying this is all a reality.
Doggerland, that's another sex thing as well, isn't it?
Well, which came first, I suppose, Jamie. Well, it's all about sex and death, right? These are the two things we must resist the most. I'm thinking more and more. We already talked about that, Jamie.
Yeah, obviously the no fap stuff and all that. Yeah,
even the word fap, I would never use that. Colloquially speaking, I wonder what that comes down to.
Why is that then?
It just wouldn't have been part of. What would you say? Wanked off. I had a wank, or. I'd never say I'm going for a fap. No, you would never say to anyone in the first place. Something you'd like to keep quiet for the most part anyway. But if you were saying it to yourself, let's just say you were hanging around and you had nothing to do, you say, all right, I might go for a wank now. How many towels will I need? All this sort of stuff, But yeah, we never would have used the fat term. But these are the things that are pushed at us most.
Well,
this temptation you have to resist, though, Jamie. It must be very difficult.
Someone said that someone's excuse was that, well, what do you think knob cheese is then?
I know who knob cheese is. It's Antonio Silverado.
Oh yeah.
I had my own run-in with
Everyone
Nazi.
remembers that, don't they?
So, Pete, would you say how much history would you say is true?
Fuck all of it, mate. Absolutely none of
why
it.
do you believe any of it?
Well, you see, someone even posted. Can you hear me okay at this distance, actually?
Yeah, sort of.
Okay. Someone even posted recently a newspaper article from the 1900s, Mick, and it was like, or it seemed to be anyway, some guy was getting into trouble because he was putting across this obnoxious idea that the Earth was a spinning sphere. So, I mean, if the whole of reality was different, even going back 100 years ago, how would we know for the first part? And I know how they've altered reality in my time, you know what I mean, in terms of the stuff that I found out. So what is real? I've said it, haven't I, Jamie? That's the biggest question for us all at this point.
It is real.
What exactly is, well, I think that's another pun. It's all about wordplay. It's like they're pushing the reality of Israel too much upon us, you know. Yeah, but it's real, you know. That's why we call it Israel. It's sort of pushing it down your throat. So, yeah, it has no basis in reality. I think all of the Middle East was fake. They've taken us away from the North Center, the central hub, you know, and where the giant tree of life is. This is the realms we're into, you know. I was on Cy Spark Ames show, hang up briefly yesterday. And, yeah, these guys are all about math and imagination. These guys are all about assumptions, you know. But the problem is when you leave that behind and you get into the flat earth theorizing and pondering, you're immediately into fantastical realms. As I said earlier, Jamie, go out in the street and just say to somebody you believe you're flat and stationary, you're a crazy nutball to 90% of the population, you know what I mean? So we can't take that as a judgment, and we can't take the level of labeling in terms of the fantastical as a judgment as well, you know. You just, as Mick said, look, you go along with certain ideas, you won't go along with other ideas. That's for your own very own reasons. And you can't equate your reasons for doing anything to anyone else's reasons for doing anything because you don't know anything outside yourself. And actually, let me just say that was because you were talking about it earlier on, and I realized that when I was listening to you, the only thing you can say is I am. Now, you even might be mistaken at that. And, you know, once you go beyond that and start defining yourself and labeling yourself, then you're into the sort of the realms of the dodgy. You know, there's no way of confirming or knowing. The only thing you can say is I am. What's that, Mick?
You say I am, but I'm saying I am what? What is it you are?
There you go. In relation to, all you can say is I am. You can say you are, he is, she is.
No, but that's I am isn't the full thing, isn't it? If you think about this though. I am what? What are you right now?
Well, there's only one answer really, isn't there? The simplest and most encompassing answer has to be I am, and just say no more, Mick. The minute you start saying anything more, then it gets lost. Do you know what I mean? There's no other.
I do know what you mean, because I thought to myself, when somebody says how are you, I used to think, well, the correct answer to that is I just am. Right now, what am I? I am this experience. That's all I am. This experience that I'm having right now. Because without this experience, I'm not. Do you see what I mean?
But see, then you have to. Then I will go to you, Mick, if we want to reduce it right down. I would ask you, well, what do you mean by experience? And then you would have to explain that. And you know what I mean?
Being.
Break it down.
I know I'm here because of this.
The question would never get answered. Then you know.
Well, it is answerable. I am this experience I'm having. You are your experiencing that you are having right now, aren't you?
Well, I mean, in one sense, someone could say to you, how do you know this is not a dream? People talk about a simulation.
Well, a dream is an experience. You're still experiencing it.
Yeah, but you're not the dream experiencing it. You are the
I am from
dreamer.
my perspective. From my perspective, right. I am this experience. I mean, the experience in my dream also.
Yeah. These are the toughest philosophical questions. And you're the resident philosopher, Mick, you know, I mean, these are, and the simpler the questions, aren't they, the more difficult it is to answer. And when I say I am, right, it's either say that, so you either answer the question this way you can, or say nothing, you know, and it just has to remain a thought in the mind of the thinker. This is the problem with language as well. Even experience, we have space X. I've identified for myself anyway X to be the ultimate part of the ultimate solution. Once you go beyond the dodo, there's another bigger puzzle which spans, goes back to at least Lewis Carroll, which is back to 1860. But I say that it encompasses pretty much everything as well. So experience is a word that's composed of separate components, which you know this as well, they've come from other places. Ence, for instance, is mind. So these words will set up a meaning in your mind which might not collate with my mind's meaning. You know what I mean? So this causes more by expanding on I am, and you introduce more variables that need explaining in a proper context to the satisfaction of both people who are conversing or whoever may be conversing. You know what I mean? This is the difficulty. This is why I think, Mick, that our capabilities are beyond measure, and language is a throwaway thing to us. We can communicate via telepathy, in potential anyway. Our potential has been switched off purposefully, I think. I think this is all a lesson to be learned in a grander sense. But again, that's just one man's thoughts on that. And what I was going to say about the I am versus you are, I'd be more qualified to say I am as opposed to saying something like you are, Mick, or Jamie is. The further I go beyond, the less sure I can be.
Well,
exactly, Jamie. That's what I was just going to say about is. I say I have taken the sword from the stone, or the S word from the S tone. And Jamie, isn't it funny? My name is Peter as well, or the name given me is Peter, and Peter means stone. But the S word from the S tone, I take it as is, that harsh vibration, both physically and also in a philosophical sense, in terms of us using that word is. How do we know what is? We already have just come to realize so much of what we were sworn is now isn't, i.e. the heliocentric model and everything associated with the big lie that we've been told all our lives. So by taking that vibration out of our being, we can set up conditions for a much more harmonious existence. And ultimately, it all becomes, to me anyway, it all comes down to frequency and vibration. And the word I revealed, well, the S word is, and take the S word from the S tone. The S tone is the TH sound. So you have that sort of an S sound, but it's much softer, And it's all about a vibration. And I identified behemoth as that vibration. And so I just wanted to comment. I was thinking that earlier on when you were talking about I am. And when I say you are as well, I've also noticed, just to say, the L equates to the G. And these are both construct, which are part and parcel of whatever process of destruction we've gone through. And we have to get rid of these things. I talked earlier on about us going back to the very earliest times. Well, God, the idea of God itself is one of the earliest concepts that's introduced to the child. And this G, if you look at your keyboard, the G is fighting for dominance with the H, but the H always wins. So the G is that sound as well that has to go. And literally, it's a mantra. Within the word behemoth, right, you already have the And we know that that's an effective mantra. At least it's considered effective by millions worldwide. But that's only part of behemoth. I challenge anyone to find a word with TH in it that has any negative connotations. I've certainly not been able to find it. And it's also recognized as being a very positive.
Thorn.
Say it, what again, Jamie?
Thorn.
Thorn. Well, that's the best answer I've got to date. I could see how a thorn would be beneficial from the wearer, right? i.e. the plant. And it also might be beneficial to us in the sense that if we were living naturally, we would be advised to take care. But I understand that's the best answer I've had to date. Yeah. But you'll be hard pushed to find another one, with negative connotations. I think that's
because we have to go through kind of, it alerts us to danger, doesn't it?
Exactly. But here's a great one. Thought. Think about thought and thought. THOTH. It's one of the major deities. I don't know. Is it in Egyptian mythology? But it's all representative of something else. know. But yeah, it's so ultimately that's what I was talking about there. Just the is.
What about thug?
Oh, that's a good one. That's a fucking good one, Jamie. You're good at this, aren't you? That is a good one now. I'm stumped at that one. I can't see any positive connotations to that one, but it is.
Thief.
I wonder if you fucking now.
Well, I typed that in your chat before, Pete, thug, when you was asking, and another one I looked up was thunderfuck or something like that.
Well, I know words have definitely had an evolution, and especially in recent times. So I wonder what the original definitions, and I wouldn't be surprised, Jamie, if thug and its etymology led to some sort of more positive connotation. I know they've done it with words like
you were saying about the word, the C word.
Well, I just said it there, Jamie. Don't be afraid to say it, man, because it's not any negative connotation to it. When you start becoming afraid to say words, then, someone else is controlling your thought, and don't let anyone else control your thought, Jamie. As long as your heart, you can say cunt all you like. You actually.
I shouldn't let any cunt rule over me.
Pete, can I just say something there? Just an observation while you were saying, and there's no nothing. I'm just saying.
Did you say knob? Did you say knobservation, Mick? Sorry.
Well, however you want to hear it, Pete.
Off you go, Mick.
Is when he said, what was it? He said thug. Now you says it wouldn't surprise us if it meant something the opposite to that. Now, right. Are you turning it into that to make your theory right? Do you see what I mean? It's like, I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm saying just see what we do. We sort of make things.
Well, sure, but listen, I'll definitely be looking at thug myself and just the history of it. And did it mean something else? And if it didn't, well, then that's a fly in the ointment.
Yeah,
but also, I expect it's.
This might be the next revelation, eh?
Well, I see words as association. So what do I associate with the word? So I mean, like a colour. I can't tell you what a colour is unless I associate it with another colour and say, an item, and say it's like that. So if I associate certain words like I want something or I need something. So if I say I need a kettle because I want a cup of tea, well, do I need the kettle because I don't really need it? It's because I want the tea, isn't it? So everything should stem from the same thing. I want it. So when I don't get it, it's not like I miss it out like I needed it. It's because I wanted it and I didn't get it. It has a different effect on us. You know what I mean? Because when you need something, it really does have an effect on you.
Well, I mean, excellent, Mick. And I hope I don't know if you tuned in when I was reading out Alice Through the Looking Glass and Alice in Wonderland, but it goes into exactly all of these things, and even though the book is understood to be childish at heart, it's far from it, and it goes back to basics like this, and it goes back into the relationship between the language that we use and the feelings that we're having and the thoughts that we're trying to express via the feelings or the language, you know what I mean? And we really do have to simplify things to be able to communicate, I think, effectively with ourselves as well, not to mind about trying to do the almost impossible task of communicating effectively with anyone outside ourselves.
Do you know you say we all psychic, right? Now I say we all connected, right? And you know how when somebody tells a lie, even if they tell the truth, the body will lie. It'll manifest somewhere else. Now I'm saying the human race is like a big consciousness, and these things that are in Hollywood, the manifestations of what's in the whole consciousness, there's nobody behind it. It just comes out. Do you know what I mean? So all these things are just what would come out of a consciousness by accident.
If I said to you, Mick, right, and I know you're did you say your granddad actually, Mick? You're definitely a dad.
No, I'm just a father.
Are you a granddad?
No.
Okay, but you have grown-up daughters, like it wouldn't. I mean, geez, not to say anything bad about it, but the number of people who are grandparents in their 40s these days is unbelievable, But in general, but if I was to say to you, Mick, how would I put this? You see, I think there's a live puzzle going on here, right? And if you found out that everything that has been said about, let's say, the North Center was true, and there was a possible passageway home to our idea of paradise on Earth, would you consider something like that, or how would you broach that idea if you found out it was a reality? Would you think, you know what I mean? I'd like to know how you would think.
First off, how could that possibly be? How could something be a paradise for everybody?
Well,
it would have to be the same as what we're on right now, Pete. It would have to be what you make of it.
Well, you can approach paradise in terms of your own being, Mick, by first of all imagining some of the more major problems you might face at the minute, completely resolved in an instant. Now, you know, that wouldn't amount to paradise per se, but it would help you along the path. You'd be in a happier state than you are now. So I'm talking in that sort of sense.
Well, how can I be? I can't say how can be happier, but I'll say this: have you ever known of a bunch of people being very happy? Being very happy together.
Talk it up, Mick.
In harmony, and somebody will come in and try and disrupt it or spoil it.
Sure, yeah, we all know that, right?
So for that person there who wants to go and destroy that, is that paradise for everybody?
You're one for the tough ones, Mick. For that person who has disrupted the whole atmosphere, what's the question?
If that's what he wants, and you say there's a paradise, there's not a paradise that's universal for everybody, because everybody wants something different. So what I'm saying is this world is something different for everybody else, and it's not that you can change the world, it's where you look and how you handle it, because all these atrocities are happening all over the world right now, and they always have done. Right now, there's atrocities that get brought to our attention. It's like, say, this street activism for the flat earth. 10,000 people watching 3 people get confused isn't changing the world, because the 10,000 watching it's already there. So do you see what I'm saying? It's the other way around. It's how you look at the world. You can't change the world, it's how you receive it. If I send you an insult, that insult is worth jack shit if you don't receive it as such.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So doesn't matter how much I send it as one, if you don't receive it, it has no effect on you.
Well, I mean, I did premise the question by saying you have to sort of imagine that you did realize that, you know, much has been written and I suppose spoken about. You can go anywhere on YouTube and find lots spoken about the North Centre and Agartha and the potential beyond the North Centre. I actually think it's a reality, Mick, and it's just part of our part of this fantastical realm we're in. But my question was based on, if you found, I understand where you're going with that. But when I mention paradise, it's just an idea, you know. I take for most people, it encompasses the same sort of things. Just
this might tie in what you're saying, but it might tie in, it might not. It's how you receive it. Define centre. What is centre? Just define that one word.
Well, we're in a limited and a prison environment outside here, right? We are tied at so many different anchor points, you know, to an illusory reality, and we know there's more to us and to the story. Beyond that, we don't know very much, but I can give my own thoughts on that. I mean, I think this is just a tiny part, an experience we're having, a game we enter into, and the ultimate prize is indeed finding that passageway home to the north, and beyond there then a realm. That's the wonder of it all, Mick. You know, you're going into the lands of the unknown.
Absolutely, Pete.
If the mythology is anything to go by, it's a wondrous journey you're facing. But I just asked you, if you found out that was a reality, would something in your character as you are now as a being be drawn to make that possible journey, come hell or high water, or even if it might potentially cost you your life?
Well, I'm in it. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Define, without going into what might be and possibilities, just define what centre is to you. What is the centre of something?
Well, without the sun, right, there's no life as we know it. We can all agree with that. It would just be dark and desolate. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, but if somebody says to me, define centre without any flat earth, how would you define the centre of something? That's what I'm asking you. Without flat earth, anything else, just that word, centre.
Okay, well, I understand, Mick. I mean, and you have to, that's what I'm trying to get at as well. You're talking about a completely different, it's all fantastical, like. So we're in a flat earth, right? Once you get beyond the boundaries, you first of all have to accept that there's boundaries there, and we're separated from another substance, which I take it as water. So Pete, I have to say then that the centre is like...
Pete, I'm glad I'm not in a shop. I'm not in a shop with you, and I ask for something that's in the centre, and they say, where do you mean by the centre? Because that's what I'm asking you. What do you mean by the centre?
Yeah, so you would have to say go to the third shelf, the third row of shelves, and drop down to the middle shelf. What I'm trying to say to you is to answer your question. So imagine the flat earth as enclosed in a bubble within waters and space, and go into the centre of the flat disc, and within there you find the centre.
And where would you be if you was in the centre?
Well, that's why I talked about the sun then. All life emanates from the centre, and within there you will find, this is the mythical Agartha, the mythical paradise, you know, the mythical...
Well, you've got it right, but you're reading it wrong. The centre is you. You are the centre.
Right.
The energy, the heat, the warmth is all created within you.
I agree.
Now, where does that fucking energy come from? Where is the little furnace that creates the heat?
Well, is that what we're all, you know, the way all compasses point north, Mick? Are we all been drawn there in one sense or another? Who knows, like?
Well, that's the earth.
When you talk about the centre of myself...
Our own, Pete.
Yeah, but I'm communicating with you. So, I mean, I understand that we're both separate centers, and I can't vouch for your center, because when it comes down to it, all I can say is I am, and I have a center. You know, this could all be a dream.
Absolutely.
So go beyond a certain point, I think.
From where I'm sitting, from my point of view, is you're looking at the centre as an outside physical thing, where everything I experience in my life is from within. Everything I've ever experienced is from within. So there's just as much within as without. So the centre is you. That's how I interpret it, your stuff.
Your centre will move about. When you have something to do tomorrow, Mick, or when you go to the shop or take a walk with the dog, your centre will move about, right? And you have that freedom for your centre to move about.
And I'm always at the centre, underpaid. Wherever I am in this world, I am always at the centre. So if I go a million miles, I'm at the centre.
I agree with that. I agree with you. But you always have a destination, Mick, don't you? No matter what you do, you decide to do something for certain reasons.
Well, you're always on the journey, Pete.
Right. So you could be killed tomorrow walking your dog, for instance. That'd be your journey done.
Well, I couldn't, because I haven't.
On the other hand, yeah. Well, if you now, Mick, that might be an omen of sorts. If you find that dog trailing along when you're walking along, get the fuck out of there.
I think I will, yeah.
No, but my point being that, you know, your center could be in a completely different physical location tomorrow based on the decisions, or tonight even. You could just hang up this hangout now, Mick, based on a thought.
Though, Pete, you say I'm in a different position, but it's always...
But your center will move in.
I'm always there. Well, to the north.
So we're talking about X marks the spot, right? So will you agree that like a beachfront in Western Cornwall will be a different center than in the heartland of Nevada,
not my center,
or New York City Center?
Not my center, unless I go there.
Yeah, but you'll have a completely different set of experiences in relation to those three different locations, right? So your center remains fixed. Yeah. Your center remains fixed, but the outside influences on your center, your sensual perception, will change and potentially can change drastically. It's all based on where you decide to move your center. That's the point.
That's the thing. It's how I perceive it, isn't it? Because if I go to New York, the only thing I want to look at is the sky, and I find the sky is a different sky to somewhere else, then I'll see the difference. If I find the same, I'll find New York exactly the same as I found anywhere else. So it's how I perceive it. It's what I want to take in. It's what I want to take from it. No, it's offering everything. But it's not what I receive, isn't it?
Well, I mean, absolutely. Your perceptions are determined by your own experiences, Mick. And if you, to a big degree, of course, you know, no matter how much you don't want to be tickled, you're going to be tickled, you know, if you have to tickle. That's all there is to it. But I agree with what you're saying, of course.
The things that's changed in us, Pete, this is what's changing in us, is before I'll be looking at the world because I'll be looking at the things I think other people would have looked at. Now I don't have any of the insecurities. I don't need anybody to say, oh, I've seen that as well. I also experienced that. I'll look at what I want now. I'll take from it what I want now. So there's no outside influences with ego controlling us. Do you see what I mean? So now I can make the world how I want it to be.
But how do you make any decisions then, Mick?
What decisions? Only the decisions is what happens. There's no more obstacles. An obstacle is only what I make in my mind. If my job is to push a wheelbarrow up a hill every day, I'll push it up the hill every day, right? Now, if I push it up the hill and there's somebody else pushing theirs up with an electric wheelbarrow, now it feels harder for me, but it's only in my mind. And if that person, I don't like them, it becomes fucking really hard, you know what I mean? So the situation hasn't changed, it's just my viewpoint on it.
Yeah, but I mean, what if you didn't want to be pushing up a wheelbarrow up a hill and
well, then I wouldn't do it.
Well, you had no choice.
If that's my job and I have to do it.
And your insurance, and you had to help your daughters out here and there, and you had to do, I mean...
Well, then I go and do the priority. I do the things that's most important. The things that would make me feel best, because it is a selfish thing when I look at it. If I go and help somebody, Pete, it's not because I'm doing it for them. I'm doing it for me, because it makes me feel good to do that. You see what I mean? So it all comes back to us. Yeah. It's all about me. It always has been about me. But it's how I react with other people that matters, and other people how they react as well. So it's like now, it's like when we had them little drama things before, I had two of them with you. Now, they weren't for nothing. I learned from them, Pete. They've changed my life. You see what I mean? I've took something from every experience I've had since then.
And listen,
I even reflect back on stuff and it's changed it.
And this shows you the limitations of these type of arrangements as well. We're grand tonight, but you know, in other times there's 3 or 4 different people on, and you know, you're sort of trying to get your own point across in between other people talking, all this sort of stuff. But listen, if we sat down, had a few drinks, or got to know each other on a regular basis, that'd be a much more complete sort of introduction, you know, so people will get a grander idea where people are coming from. Because of course,
I'd love to sit there now, share a joint with you, shake your hand, and give you a big fucking hug.
Nice one, man. I definitely reciprocate that. Brilliant.
In fact, if I can get the chance, I'll fucking come over and see you. Do you know what I mean? Because you're a fucking genuine man. Now that's what matters. I'm not, and I don't believe in the same beliefs as you, and I respect your beliefs. Now that's the difference. You're entitled to them. That's what makes it for you. You have them. It's like, and you're not bothered that I don't have them. You might be a little bit bothered. It comes across like that to me a little bit, but you're fine with it, and that's what matters more. The way you get along, because that is the world that we live in. That's the experience I'm having. I don't like Pete. I don't dislike Pete. I experience Pete. I have a good experience of Pete, or I don't have a good experience of Pete. But that like or dislike never gets in the way anymore. I just have the experience.
Excellent. That's brilliant. That's well said. That's well said. And I often said it as well. It's all about our intent. We have true and honest hearts within us all. And, you know, and the best of things can be expressed in the worst of manners and vice versa, you know. But absolutely, Mick. And one question I would ask you is, I mean, with flat Earth, what do you envisage, or in your quiet times, do you try investigate a bigger picture or the reason behind all of the things we are experiencing, or do you ever delve into anything you can solidify in your own brain or use to maybe change some decisions you might make in the future?
Well, it's all. This is the thing. It's all changes. It's like even my name, flat Earth, still water. Like I say, this thing come out in your subconscious first. It's because the flat Earth is how I experienced it, and the still water is exactly how I think. Now that was done on the spur of the moment. Then beliefs come later, but that now reinforces, because of the way it worked out. It reinforces that in the theory. But that's how I experienced the life. That's not saying that that's now a belief. That's how I actually experienced it.
I've said it before. Even your avatar is very revealing, Mick. Your avatar is excellent as well, and very revealing, and says a whole hell of a lot in a whole number of ways to me, anyway. You know, whether I might be reading into it or not, that's just down to me, isn't it? My mind works the way my mind works, and
absolutely, yeah.
That's something we should never have to apologize to anybody for. We can learn from people. We can be wrong about things. You know, we can alter or be willing to alter our whole world view at the drop of a hat. I think most of us, once we let the flat Earth sink in, we recognize that it has altered fundamentally our whole. Even the word world, I'm not going to use anymore. It's the end of the world as we know it. Well, good. Think about world, word with L inserted. I talked about L, this L character. I said L and the letter G are interchangeable because G is the 7th letter and L upside down and then mirrored is a 7 as well. So the L inserted into the word gives you the fake illusory world. So
So I don't want to sort of details anymore, Peter. Go into the bigger, like, just keep it a bit more similar. It's like the end of days. Yes, there will be an end of days for all of us. Just say what I mean. There always has been from the day you fucking born, you're dying. So that end of days is true. That's why we believe it, because we all mortal. Do you know what I mean? We're all going to die. So it's just how you read it.
That brings you back to my question again, Mick. If you found out that if this was a reality in the North Centre and you didn't have to die, as was the fate of the vast majority, how would you feel about that? That was the question.
Well, I've already answered. I thought I did. I said, I'm already there.
Okay. I can see you've no fear of death anyway, Mick, and that's cool. That's excellent. But
well, here's the thing. There was a time you experienced not being here, wasn't it, Pete? Or didn't experience it, whatever way you want to look at it.
Well, so that's an interesting one.
You will return to that, won't you? Like all the cycles. So if that's a return, this is also a return, because everything's mirrored. It's a mirror of things. So death is life. It's just bounced back like a reflection.
So what if what if it was all a game? What if it was all a game, Mick, and the ultimate prize was to find a pathway to the North Centre where you could have a sort of an extra bonus level experience?
Pete, if that's what it is,
the purpose of entering life.
This is the tree. It's the wishing tree. you're under it. It's whatever it wants to be for you. The way to achieve it is not to get the validation of others. To believe what you believe and know it in your heart, and then you'll have it. If you have to wait for the validation of others, you'll never get it.
No. See, I'm thinking along different lines, Mick, and I appreciate what you're saying there. But I mean, when in my mind, before 1598, this is how relatively recently I place everything. So when I asked that question, I asked it in earnest. Everything was different in my mind, and I literally am asking myself, what if this is what life is about? It's about having an experience, and sure, we all go back to paradise. We go back to where we came from in perfect knowledge and in perfect bliss. What if this was the purpose of coming into this experience?
But here's the point, Pete. Have you experienced anywhere else other than here?
I know it's left a trail through history, Mick. I know it's left a trail through great artistic works. So I know it's an ongoing puzzle, and I know that it spans many decades, if not generations. That's one thing I know from my own, and I don't expect anyone to believe me. I've spoken about all of this on my own channel, and there's a coherency to pretty much everything I've been saying. All of these doors are there for. I mean, just think of your favorite band, even, Mick, and just to cement that point a little. Think of your favorite band from the 70s or the 80s, and just type in Alice in Wonderland or Sgt. Pepper, Beatles, Sgt. Pepper. Every one of your favorite bands will have some major reference to either one of those two works. And I say this is all interconnected within this larger generational puzzle that's ongoing. The Beatles were all about Alice in Wonderland as well, So it goes back to at least then, and then you can connect Lewis Carroll to other works, which brings the puzzle back further again. So that's all I'm saying, and that's where I'm coming from. And
I understand you, Pete, but what's it all made of at the end of the day? Like, because what I found is you can connect anything to anything if you keep going. It's like, honestly, you can. It's not in a direct way. You can't say I can connect this to that, but in a roundabout way, you can always connect everything to everything, so you can get exactly what you want.
7 degrees of separation, all that. Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely. You can absolutely.
Isn't it 6 degrees?
Oh, is it 6? Is on? What did I get 7 degrees?
I'll have to have a look.
You're probably right, Jamie. Absolutely, Mick. Absolutely. That's what's unique about this experience we're having. Each and every one of us will ask different questions and will follow different pathways, will make different connections. And
Pete, you said you played chess, didn't you?
Yeah.
Right. So you think moves ahead, don't you?
Yeah.
So cause and effect? We understand that, don't we? It's in the physical world, isn't it?
Yeah.
So in the mental world, here's an example. This is good, like going back to what Jamie was on about and that before we were on about it. But if I bring a thing up about racism, right, and attack somebody for racism, right, I've used what they've said for a reason for that attack because I wanted to do that. You know what I mean? I'm using that as the reason. So if you can recognise that reason why I chuck it in first, I can stop chucking it in, but I can also recognise it when other people do it and not be ready for the next move because you know what's coming. You see what I mean or not?
Yeah, but I mean, the only problem is there you can't gauge someone's reaction, especially over a format like this. How, lots of communication is done via, face-to-face.
What I mean is if you don't respond to something,
right.
You don't get it wrong, do you?
That's true. And I've said this umpteen times myself as well. Don't get emotionally involved in any of the characters or any of the drama that's going on. You always have to take a step back. But sometimes, listen, we're man having an experience. We are passionate, and we can't be uber philosophical all the time as well. And
this, I'll look at myself deeply now. So it's not what I'm saying there about I attack somebody because I want to attack them and I use the thing to attack them. No,
right.
In that situation, I'm always attacking myself because I feel everything in this existence. So when I get angry, it's because I want to feel angry. It's not that I want to attack the person. I want to feel that rage towards myself for some reason. That's why I was doing it, because everything in this world is only experienced internally by me. So even when I stroke my cat, I don't feel the cat. I feel my hand. I never feel the cat.
That's what we used instead of FAP back in my day, Jamie. Stroke the cat. That's what it was. I forgot about it completely. I'm sorry, mate.
Do you ever say anything, Pete? Do any of us ever say anything? Because light reflects and bounces off things, so the thing that's bouncing off, I never see. It's only a reflection of the light, isn't it? Like your stars, I never see the real thing because light bounces off it. So they're invisible. Everything in this world is invisible. I see a reflection, always a reflection. Now, if I get emotional, that reflectional changes me mirror, gets distorted like a stormy sea. If I can not react on I first move and I can keep me calmness like we do right now. Do you know what I mean? Now that we settled our differences, if I can keep that calmness because we've reflected on it, but if I can keep that in the state where I get provoked and that night, if I stayed in this state I'm in now, nothing you could have said would have bothered me. I wouldn't have said things to you, things would have escalated, but I would never experience it. So therefore, that event for me was necessary. I wouldn't say I wish it never happened. I'm glad it happened because I've took the best from it. I haven't took the worst from it. I've took the best. It's changed us. You see what I mean?
And excellent. And you have incorporated that into your own being and moved forward with it. And I mean, we're always learning, Mick, you know, and be the first to admit, or we should be the first to admit anyway, that at any point when new evidence comes along, we are willing to overturn our complete worldview. Just like in the game of chess you mentioned there, you have two opponents playing for their own reasons with sort of a common goal, I guess, you know, just to enjoy the experience. Your view is absolutely perfectly fine, and it's part and parcel of your own process, which is taking you to this exact moment right now. And you can't relate that to anyone. It's impossible to be able to relate that to anyone, you know. Same applies to me, exact same applies to Jamie, or each and every one of us who are listening here. We're all coming together under the common umbrella of, I say, flat earth, but we are tending to get a little bit more involved here. And I think for the purposes of a conversation, less philosophical would be better, only in the sense that, yeah, all of these conversations would be great if we could meet up on a regular basis and develop a face-to-face friendship. You know what I mean? These would be excellent conversations. But in this sort of format, and not being face-to-face, and not, I hate this sort of, it's just me talking to a computer screen, you know. It just feels completely unnatural to me. And I'm completely aware that the things that are on my mind are up for discussion will not be the same things that might appeal to everybody, you know. And look, this is an emerging conversation as well. So who knows where it might end up as opposed to where it began from. And that's the beauty of all this stuff. And I think you can sense a sort of a nice peaceful calm here anyway, you know. And it's great to hear. And Jamie, I'm sure has matured a lot as well. And ultimately, it's an individual's path everyone is on, and no one else can dictate your path for you. And you have to go with your own heart and your own experiences. And yeah, every man has his own story, right?
I agree a lot with what you said. I agree with a lot of what you said, Pete, but it's like, and I look at it, I don't agree with all the details, but the thing that you're aiming at, that main point, is it's just a metaphor for what I think myself. Do you see what I mean? It's like, it's similar, but it's just, I'm now shaping it to make it fit what I think. Do you see what I mean? That's my guilt there. I'm taking it and making it fit my thing. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, very good, Mick. And I mean, when would you say that this, would you describe this as an utter change in your being, your center, compared to, let's say, a previous time? Or would you say that this, you have maintained the same character in general?
Well, it's a good question that Peyton answered. Honestly, I would have to say I can't answer that, because a perception is what somebody else has of me, not what I can have of myself. It's like me saying I'm a good person. Well, I can think that as much as I want. It's the other people who have to think like that. So,
well, let me ask you more specific on that. Did something like,
let me say something though, Pete. I haven't finished.
All right, yeah, okay.
My friend says to us today, he was talking to another mate and says, that mentioned me, and he says, when he looks into my eyes, the old me's dead, he's gone. So they say something different.
Ouch. What? Who said that to who?
My best mate said that to me, said he bumped into somebody, he wasn't going to say who it was.
All right.
But I mean, he's honest with us, and he goes the opposite to what everything I say. Like that, no matter how you get discredited, doesn't matter how much I say that could be just the norm, he'll turn around the other way. But I found annoying at first, and then I found the annoyance was in me. Now I thrive on it, because he'll give us the opposite to everything I say, which will make me think at it in a way that I never thought of before. But it annoys him. Once I don't accept that annoyance and it's dished out, it's got nowhere to go, he has to accept it back, and that's what I'm finding. And it's amazing. It's like what the world's unfolding in a totally different way for us.
But did I get this right, that your friend bumped into another guy who talked about you, and he had hatred in his eyes, murder in his eyes?
No, what he said is the old me was dead and gone. When he looked into my eyes, it was not the old me who used to be me because I've changed so much.
Oh, I got that completely wrong then. Oh man, why you got a twinkle in your eye, mate, have you?
Well, I don't know whether I've got a twinkle, Pete, but nothing bothers us
Lovely.
anymore. He says, as if I flatlined, says, you just, nothing bothers you. I says, things can bother us, but just do they need to?
He means that in a good way, right?
No, he looks at things passionately and he thinks I should be more like him. It's like, because of that, I see in this, everybody tries to make others like them. Not everybody, some's less than others, but in some way, even me sitting here now telling you about it is exactly the same. So we're all guilty of it. It's just how I see the world now, and I'll just say it how I see it.
You know, I said this before as well. The idea of going, sitting under a tree, contemplating for the rest of your days doesn't sound so out there now to me, you know. And
well, sitting with your own thoughts, Pete, just thinking it all, but knowing that it's wonder and not real, but it's a possibility because we don't know. There's a far greater fucking position to be from, a much far more exhilarating way to go through life than thinking you know stuff that makes no sense, and just because of ego, hanging on to it and taking the upper hand because you can recite something from Google that now makes you sound intelligent. Isn't the fucking way to go, is it?
So, I mean, in a lesser sense then, could you see yourself potentially getting into a situation like that? I mean, millions of people, I would say millions of people, but it's part and parcel of certain practices, isn't it? You know, the Buddhists and all that, just, I know it's extreme to spend a lifetime under a tree, but could you see
I thought about it. I actually thought about just fucking off becoming a Buddhist, but then that's just belief as well. I don't want to live in a world of belief. I want to live in a world of experience because that's what was given to us. That's all I've got. So I want that to be exhilarating, do you know what I mean? Because I've made it so, not because the experience is exhilarating, because that's what I've made it into. The reasoning.
I don't know. I mean, what if there was, well, I've always, my point of view on this isn't hidden, but what if there's a world within a world? What if we live in a completely illusory system and nothing is, including ourselves, what it appears to be, but there's a root way between worlds? What would that sort of thought, how would that thought strike you?
I'll tell you what's going through my head. These are just wonder things. So, like, could Peter Dodo be actually a real fucking dodo that's just festering away in a pool? And that's what we fucking are. Because then I thought of a flea. I was explaining to me, because when you voice things, you know what you're going to say. You don't know what the other person is going to say.
Yeah.
So it's not until you voice things and have a conversation that might, some of their say, triggers you to think in a total new way. Like, oh, no, I didn't think of that. So you start thinking in a new way. So things start to come out. No, I says, what happens if I realised we're a parasite? Because we need to live off this thing that we're on to sustain ourselves. So we're no different to any other thing. Because I couldn't work out what's the purpose of the flea? Everything has a purpose. So what is the purpose? It's for us to know we are the same as the flea. We feed off from it. Now, the best thing is not to infest the flea. It's to give your host respect, isn't it?
So,
give as much trouble as possible. So
why do you not eat meat then?
Because I can change. I don't have to be the thing that kills the thing that's the hand that feeds it. Because that thing that eating meat can look back and think it has memory. Now, my memory isn't in my mind, it's in my body. So if I'm eating the memory of that thing, I want the memory of the plant. I want to be still and calm and a beautiful thing that blooms, not a dead animal that no longer has life and has pain and suffering in it. I don't want them memories in there. And it does have an effect. Just becoming a vegetarian has effect over vegan. But when you become vegan and you cut everything out, vegan soap, everything, like it has a difference. What?
Sorry, Rick, vegan soap, you said?
Yeah, I've got vegan washing up liquid, vegan fucking hand soap. It's all made out of animal fucking stuff, man. Soap. Did you not know?
I didn't know that now, actually.
So you're rubbing dead animal on you. That's what you're doing. Gelatine's full of fucking just hoof and stuff, isn't it? That's all that is. There's loads of stuff that if you're ignorant to it, you're going to take it unknowingly. Now, it's not they that's doing it. It's me doing it to myself. There is no they. There is no fucking magician behind the door. It's always been us. You see, because nobody knows they're working for somebody else. There might be one man at the top breaking a load of money in, but we make all this up and believe it, as far as I'm concerned, to justify us not like all of it, Pete, not all of it. Do you know what I mean? There's obviously stuff, but a lot of it's added on just to make it.
See, you look great, Mick. I mean, I'd like to see a picture of you maybe 10 years ago in comparison to how you look now. You think great, and you have a great diet and outlook as well.
Well, I've always been fit, Pete, and there's times through my life that
Excellent.
I was a vegetarian, do you know what I mean, for 6 years, my 20s, and it was through, I seen a documentary, and it was the torture of the animals, but as time dissipated, sort of went back to the old ways, do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Through lack of consciousness, isn't it?
You'll never go back to eating meat again, Mick, right?
No, never.
Yeah, there's no need for it. And the quicker we realize it, the better. And it's all about a balance. And it's all about as within, so without. I mean, we have to
Absolutely. Now, I'll tell you something about that, Pete, because this all starts to make sense. Because as within, without, as above, as so below, all this stuff. Now, you eat what you're on. So the thing that you're on is also in you're part of it. And it's so on. That's how everything is. And we just keep going round in cycles.
Yeah. And I've spoken to Jamie about it before. Do we even need to eat at all? I don't think so. I really don't think so. But that's an extreme in comparison to standards.
Of course we do, Pete. We do have to eat. There's an exchange that goes on. We eat the death, and the death becomes shit, and the light goes from it.
Just saying, if you push it to extremes,
we don't need to eat nowhere near as much as what we eat. If you think you keep a cow alive for 5 years, now imagine how much crops that's had to eat to sustain that cow. Now you eat the cow, a few people consume it in a couple of months, even a week. Do you know what I mean? Now that's 5 years of crop that could have had if we're all vegetarians. Look how many people could be fed off feeding that one cow. It's ridiculous. It's to keep us in control.
But it's again part and parcel of flat earth. Obviously, a more important part and parcel of it is the ultimate question is who we are.
It's your responsibility. It's your responsibility for yourself, for everything you've ever done, for everything you think. You can't blame anybody else for me getting mad. It's me that gets mad, not them. So it doesn't matter what they're doing in front of us. I get mad. It's me. I've got to take responsibility for what I do.
Well, I've talked myself about us being in a divided state, and this is an unnatural situation we find ourselves in. And at core, we're divided, and it's all about sort of reuniting with ourselves. I think that's what.
Can I tell you something, Pete?
Yeah.
Can I tell you something? And I'm not honestly trying understand this. What you're talking about right there is yourself. You're in a broken system that needs to be reunited with itself. That's what you're talking about.
Yeah, and you won't find it outside yourself. That's one thing I do know. I do know that, and I think,
know what's broken in you, Pete. You know what's broken in you.
Oh yeah, but I mean,
it's every night at the end of your hangout. That's what's broken in you, Pete. You know what I'm about, don't you?
Yeah.
I can see it, Pete. Do you know what I mean? That's what you need to be fixing or trying towards. That's what you need to be putting efforts in.
It's true, and we all know our own story best, but I think going a bit deeper, Mick, though, when we cast aside evolution as an explanation for the origins of mankind, then we have to replace that with something else. So I meant it in that sense. I mean, where do you see the human form coming from, or do you see it emerging from a perfect divinity into some sort of a fallen state, or whatever? I think these things come into reckoning. I'd have to know your point of view on that, and then not have to know anything, but you know what I mean. That would be an interesting question or an interesting.
I'll just tell you where I see it. I think you turned into something else. I think we know what the problem is, and I'll tell you why I think it, because I've calmed myself so down and I get that sensitive that I feel it in you. I feel the empathy at that part to say that. Now, tell me I'm wrong. You know what I mean?
No, you're not wrong, man.
Honestly, Pete, I love listening to Dodo. I'm fascinated, but the Dodo is manifested from something else. You know what I mean? That's how I see it. I'm not saying that's how it is, Pete, and that's how you're experiencing it.
Well, everything comes from somewhere, for sure. Absolutely. I don't think I tried to hide anything. So, I mean, if you're picking up on stuff that we haven't talked about or whatever, that's cool, Mick. I'm not trying to. The Dodo is completely separate. It's separate from anything else. The Dodo is like, how would you say? It's like a crossword puzzle. There's a clue that fits in, and only one answer to the clue that will solve the whole. So that's the way I look upon the Dodo, and I'm absolutely sure that is the case. Whatever anyone else might think of it. So that's outside to me. But in terms of maybe it representing something in me, absolutely, there's a Dodo in all of us. But there's great holes in my life. I find this a completely unnatural existence.
But this is like the fabricated hole to block it. See what I'm saying? It's like I was doing this myself.
Say it again.
This is like the fabricated hole that you've created to block it. It's not that it's not there, but it's the distraction from.
Oh no, it's there. I'm sorry, Mick. I'll have to stop you there. It's there.
That's what I'm saying. Not that it's not there. But what I'm saying is the concentration you're putting into it is the thing that's blocking.
In one sense, I haven't put much concentration into it. In one real sense, I've taken it all sort of casually.
Well, how many hangouts have you been on where you've never mentioned it, Pete?
Oh no, sure, but I'm not. I don't go away and research 5 hours on end.
Did you put it what was in on it though?
Oh no, absolutely. I've had about nearly I think it's about 40. I must be in the late 40 hangouts, but I was much more than the dodo. We sort of left the dodo behind a long time ago in one sense. So if you're trying to say that I'm using this to fill in a gap in my own personal, emotional, familiar life, well, no, absolutely not. This is a separate.
Well, no. What I was actually saying is, I was doing that myself. I was doing that sort of thing myself. So I'm using myself as a comparison.
That's what I'm saying. If you're saying I'm sort of inventing the grander puzzle, or just sort of
that's not what I'm saying is. What I'm saying is that it's like punching a door. I'm taking it out on something else. I'm filling the hole with something else.
When you punch a door with anger, Mick, really, there's no other reason.
Yeah, but what I'm doing is I'm deflecting it and doing something else. I'm taking the attention of.
Why don't you say build a house or something like that?
Yeah, whatever. Do you know what I mean? It's not really the point. What I'm saying is I'll do something.
Yeah, well, one has a very destructive connotation, and the other less. You say, well, I build a sports car. You know, that would take lack.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, right. So I'll start building ships in a bottle, and I get that obsessed. I've got 100 ships because it's taking my mind somewhere else.
And that's for sure. But I mean,
well, what I'm trying to say is instead of building them bottles, I'm better trying to tackle the problem, aren't I?
Well, I mean,
that's what I'm really after at the end of the day. I'm distracting myself doing something I don't want by knowing that I'm missing out on something I do.
Well, one question I find is the most difficult one, especially in terms of all of these realizations. I mean, I've known the Earth is flat since 2013. So, I mean, I've pretty much gone through all the thought process, I should imagine, of most anyway. And, you know, I've often said, once you get the flat Earth, that's not the ending of anything. It is the ending in one sense when you try to relate to people outside of flat Earth who will just...
Well, you believe it's flat though, don't you?
Yeah.
It's not a known.
So you know it's flat, yeah.
Well, that's what I used to say, but I was lying because I don't know. See what I'm saying? It's like...
As much as you can know, you can use the word believe.
As much, because I've heard you actually say yourself, locally, we can say water's flat.
That's all
locally, as far as we can experience. Beyond the experience, we can't vouch for.
And after a while, you see, you sort of shorten your terms and you just say, well, I know the Earth is flat and stationary. You know what I mean? Now, you could clarify that, but you've clarified it so many times before that you just reduce it to that. That's why I made the controversial statements about 9/11, you know, just reduced it down to no one hurt, no one died. I didn't say that. Dave Johnson said that. But yeah, 9/11 media fakery, no victim. You know, it's just easier to say that, but you could add a whole lot more in terms of clarification or qualification, if you will. But yeah, that's as much as we can know now in terms of how we'd relate it to anything else, anything grander. But that's just the beginning, you know, it's not the ending. It leads on to many more questions. And these answers are known. Everything we're going through now, everything now we're finding out is known intimately. And we're coming to a point of realization. I'm saying the people who know the greater puzzle, the greater plan, have inlaid this much greater puzzle within the narrative. And it doesn't matter if you recognize it or not, it's there, you know what I mean? So it's like saying, Mick, in one sense, there's a game of chess going on in the park. I think I'll walk in and have a game, you know, line up and queue up. Or you might say, well, I'm not interested in chess, so I'll just leave it be and I'll leave the people who are interested in taking up that puzzle do it. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I kind of look at it this way, Pete. It's like going to the park having a game of chess and the opponent thinks it's your board and you think it's his board. Do you know what I mean? You can play the chess, but nobody knows who the opponent is, whose board it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true. And that's, in one sense, we don't know whose board this is. What is the greater story here? What is the greater power? Who are we? What is the greater game we are going through? I mean, we talk about simulation theory, or that's coming. I reckon it has to be a simulation because we are greater beings. So if we're greater beings and we're in a limited condition, then I think, first of all, we have to have consented to it.
Well, aren't you only bound by your mind? Your mind's
right,
the thing behind you.
Right, but if I don't ask the questions, Mick, if I don't ask these questions, then I won't progress any further. So I'm not saying that they're right. Of course, I've no way of proving it. That's why I said to you earlier on, when you go beyond, when someone asks you, who are you? When you go beyond I am, then you're introducing all manner of possible complexities and points of contention. So in a simplified sense, if I don't ask these questions, then my own brain, which has some sort of desire to come to some conclusion on these bigger questions, will not be satisfied. So yeah, never claim that I don't know whose chessboard it is. And I think that's the great game that we're in. I think we're finding out. I definitely think we're finding out. I've ruled out God at this stage, or that G term, you know, and I've replaced it with the H, which is the 8, the alpha, and the omega, the infinity. But beyond that, you can't. We know we live in a created realm, right? So that implies a creator. But beyond that, we can't attach any reality to it. It's all a belief system. So we have to really restrict and limit ourselves, and that's why I'm talking about as well, going back, even casting out the idea of God, this personification of a man in a cloud, you know, and we can't just replace that with another belief system. And I've commented on this before, the biggest danger in flat earth are the Bible literalists, and I've maintained that since early doors. They're organized, they're spreading their tentacles, and if you don't agree with them, against your intellect, against your investigations, against your greater mind, you're still going to hell. So your children. This is the general attitude, you know, and it's a horrible, desperate attitude. Even if it was true, you know, you shouldn't be expressing it in that format. But yeah, we can't replace one belief system, which is science and the heliocentric model and everything that went along with that dogmatism, with another one, or revert back to a belief system that was waiting in the wings for this moment and had everything pre-planned, you know. So yeah, we have to really cut it back down to basics, and yeah, that's where we all become lonely and isolated individuals, I guess, in one real sense. You know, outside of this communication I'm having here, I've spoken to a few people today, but for the most part I've been on my own with my own thoughts and experiences, you know. So it's been just like every other day, and I'm sure we can all equate to that as well. And ultimately that's the real reality, right?
I love being on my own, Pete. I fucking love it.
Yeah. You have good dreams, by the way, mate. You must have great dreams.
I don't dream at all. I've no dreams whatsoever.
What the fuck, man?
No, honestly, I go to bed, I shut my eyes, I open them, I get out.
Oh, well, shit. I think that's probably sometimes the only thing that makes life bearable, Mick, is the dreams that I have. How do you describe dreams to someone who doesn't dream?
Oh, no, don't get us wrong. I've had vivid dreams, but when I smoke cannabis, I have no dreams whatsoever. It's like I get knocked out, I don't fucking go to sleep. By that time I'm unconscious, you know what I mean? So I just wake up and fucking...
Have you ever considered giving up cannabis for a few weeks even?
I did, yeah. That's when I had vivid dreams. It was honestly, Pete, it was like worth coming off it, but that would only happen for 3 or 4 days. But they were the most vivid dreams. It was always there, the air, the feeling, the atmosphere, people. It was fucking weird.
I think now more than ever we want to be having these vivid dreams, and I think
them vivid dreams. Everything in them dreams was constructed from things that exist, but they were a jumble of the same things, and I was in a different place where I knew where it was. Fucking weird.
Well, I mean, if some components of things that didn't exist slipped into your dreams, would you recognize it?
I've had dreams with aliens, but I didn't think I was abducted because I was running through the marketplace, you know what I mean? But then I've had dreams with giant bees, and I've had one where I was drowning. And the one where I was drowning, I got my foot caught, and I was under the water, and I was trying to get up. And when I actually woke up, I'd been panting for breath. I was out of breath. I'd been holding my breath in me.
Wow. Well, I mean, we've all had those dreams of one form or another, but well, I mean, is that what cannabis... I haven't been smoking as much cannabis recently, but is that what cannabis sort of restricts as well? And I wonder, now more than ever, I think the sun has actually increased in frequency. It was a beautiful day here today, Mick, but it's a freezing night, and it'll be a foggy morning tomorrow. Like, you know, I think that's all as a result of the sun increased in frequency. So you have higher variation. But excuse me, I think now more than ever, yeah.
So what do you think is going to happen on the 23rd then? Because I didn't really get much of an answer as far as I can remember.
Yeah, I think, well, just generally, I don't think it'll be anything earth-shattering, but it'll be representative, Jamie. It'll be symbolic more than anything else. I think we're in the countdown. I'm stuck to the idea now that 2000...
Well, yeah, because that's what you were saying, that it's like the countdown.
Yeah, the future is more...
But how many days or months or whatever do you think it's going to be?
Yeah, I was speculating on that. I'm set that 2018 was always the year, but I was thinking the 8th of the 8th has to come into it sometime. So either that might be the 8th of August or the 8th of October, which was the original October, but that's just a general notion. But I'm pretty pretty certain that 2018 was always the year for, I guess, the end of the world, the end of the world that we know it. And of course, we know the world is complete illusion and fabrication.
So we're literally just over a year or whatever away from,
yeah,
you know.
That's the way I see it, Jamie. And I think if you're aware and alert, you'll see lots of signs already. You know, even
signs are there?
Well, even down to that recent flat Earth, of
hurricanes.
Again, people, conspiracy crew jumping on the back. I have no interest in these things anymore, by the way. But even down to I didn't even look into it. The minute I heard it, Jamie, I knew it was a hoax. The train flash bomb, and they're showing you completely contradictory evidence and clear fakery in your face. This is slow sort of.
Because if they wanted to like, you know, if it was like it's all part of this new world order thing, well, then why are they kind of making it so obvious? Like, you know, the whole NASA fakery and all that stuff.
Yeah, these are bigger questions for people who mightn't have considered these things before. And yeah, I've considered them. And again, where I've come out is just my own particular perspective. Everything, all the illusion has to be shattered. So if illusions aren't being shattered on one front in terms of the clear fakery that's going on with NASA, they're being shattered on another front in terms of all the banking scandals, the political scandals, fake news, all this sort of stuff. It's part and parcel of a process. I mean, I've said this as well, Jamie, I've declared myself king of era, you know, as a living man, because we know about the legal name fraud, and everyone else seems to think that they are legal names, even though the fraud has been exposed and all contracts become null and void following the revelation of the fraud. So now I, like the rest of my fellow man, are kings and queens on the land. So it's up to ourselves to do the declaring, you know. These dead fictions, governments will go on as long as you like, having you think that you're a legal name. But when you're not, then, well, what are you going to do about it? So that's in the sense that I've declared myself king of era. Well, I also claim to have taken the sword or the S word from the stone to sort of back that up. But it's most just in the sense that I am as you are. We are kings and queens and inheritors, flesh and blood on the land. And yeah, this is the reality. Flat Earth is the reality. All of these characters that come back again and again that we're also familiar with, they're actors on the stage. They're playing a role. They know the Earth is flat and stationary, and they know somewhat of the outcome, I think. You know.
Did you see that thing with Mark Sargent with his fucking fake glasses? You could see through them. He's scratching his eye through them.
Delcroix called that out ages ago with his fake glasses, the Bilko glasses, Sergeant Bilko, if you remember Sergeant Bilko. Oh well, listen, you might say this as well, Mick. I'm just drawing conclusions where I have no right to, really, but I claim that Mark Sargent and Patricia Steere opened up.
Well, it should have a nickname, FEN, Flat Earth Nerd.
Who's that, Jamie? Oh, Mark Sargent.
Sargent with the fake glasses thing.
Well, what was
especially with, you know, was it the game design standpoint?
Well, this is all decoded. Everything they do is encoded in some form or fashion. That's what I was just going to say to Mick. I stand over what I say. For 4 weeks in a row, they opened up their secret show in reference to the finds I had been having around those particular times. It's just communicated in a different fashion, but when it's pointed out, then it's hardly deniable, you know.
Like with the Fepe thing, and
there you go, yeah.
Came out with the dodo.
And a few weeks afterwards, and Fepe, another flightless bird, after the dodo. Fepe is the face of Homer Simpson, who has, famous for his does and his dodos, and even the color of the beak tied into something I was. So yeah, but again, it doesn't.
Maybe you're the an actor as well, because you've kind of rolled out this dodo thing, but
roll out the dodo.
I'm not an actor.
Maybe, man. I mean, that's the thing. What's noble? I mean, the one thing I will say is actors are always restricted in things they can talk about. There's a restriction that has to be placed upon them. I have no restrictions. I don't care about numbers of subscribers or putting out videos.
But don't some actors?
The fucking shit.
No one has paid attention.
Don't some actors do it impromptu, so they're not limited to what they can talk about?
Sure. Well, no one pays it. No
But
one.
then they have to kind of, even if they're not following the script or whatever, they still have to kind of.
Sure. Well,
It
this
still
still
has
have to
to
be
tie
limited.
in with the story, doesn't it? So they are
Exactly.
limited in
It has
that.
to be an art. Have you ever heard me refuse to talk about anything, Jamie? Anything at all? And if you want to satisfy yourself, you can ask me any question you like now. Beyond
What are you
up to a certain point, of course. You know,
What are
I
you wearing,
mean,
Pete? What are you wearing?
that's what I was going to say. Would you believe I have Dodo jocks on? Would you?
Dodo underpants with an egg in the back.
Is that a dodo in your pants? Are you just happy to see me? Tip of the beak, tip of the beak. No. Listen. Yeah, there's always a script. There's always a limitation. There's always a gate to be kept. And I'm not going to try convince anybody. How many people have taken up on the dodo anyway? Not very many. And actually, you can put this as well into your own framework, Mick. But
how would if it's all a plan, like then, how would they be able to kind of know that you're going to talk about the dodo?
Well, I mean, all I can say is you're being pointed at it from, well, not quite pointed at it. You have to get the flat earth first to see the significance of the dodo. But I mean, even if you read the bio of Lewis Carroll, right, they're telling you that his name was Charles Dodgson, but he had a stammer. So he was known to his friends as Charles Dodo Dodgson. And you're also told in his bio that he identified most with the character of the dodo in the flat earth. Now, when you go, not in Alice in Wonderland. Now, when you look at Walt Disney's that's actually what they did was they connected both books and made one story of it, and it's loaded with clues. But when you go in and look at the dodo scene, there he's singing Land Ahoy, I think the name of it is, from HMS Pinafore. So again, a direct connection between the flat earth and the dodo. Then you get to the Gleason's map and you turn it upside down and you look and you say, well, doesn't it look a bit like a dodo? So you're getting kind of clues from every different angle. Tom York's nickname as a child from Radiohead, one of the biggest bands in the world, his name was Dodo as a child. There's all of these little clues pointing you to it, but you definitely have to get into flat earth first.
Radiohead, you
right. Well,
you don't know it to yourself.
Excellent, Jamie. Excellent, man. That is excellent. And Radiohead have a song, "Meet the Real World Coming Out of Your Shell and White Elephants and Sitting Duck." So in one sentence, they mention the turtle and the shell, the elephant. Well, I'm not going to say the dodo, but the duck. Duck, duck, go. So again, it's all of these little clues, and it's impossible at this stage that they're not all connected and part and parcel of a greater story, which I've moved well beyond in one sense. But that it's there, you can't deny that it's there. Again, the 2015 Economist magazine, I decoded it. You have the turtle at the front missing a payload, and you make your way through the hidden puzzle, which you've been pointed to around all the dignitaries and the world leaders who are just characters in the theater to the ultimate answer and solution, which turns out to be, we knew it would turn out to be that anyway, it was the dodo and Mauritius. And we found the exact reasons why it was dodo and the Mauritius, So yeah, this is all months ago. And you move further then. When you actually get to dodo and the Mauritius, then you get to read Alice in Wonderland. Then you leave the Paul is Dead puzzle behind, but you read your way through the rest of Alice in Wonderland, Alice Through the Looking Glass. Then you find yourself the 13th discarded chapter, and you see the greater puzzle that it all fits into. And remember, Pepper's puzzle, that's a puzzle that's taken very seriously by many Beatles fans. Just type it into your Google in case you think it's just a whim or something to be taken lightly. No, this is a 50-year ongoing puzzle that all your favorite bands are pointing you to let you know there's a puzzle there waiting to be solved. So that's solved. Then you move back to Lewis Carroll and you look into his character, another fabricated character, the third of 11 children. So his works take on a greater significance. And then you go back further because you find a greater story has been told in terms of our true history. Humpty Dumpty represents something different.
What's the significance of the number 33 then? Well, obviously, yeah, it's masonry, isn't it? There's 33 degrees of masonry in it. That's supposed to be, but actually, I've never been in the masonry, so I don't know about that.
Yeah, but I mean, everything has a practical and a sort of more deeper, more basic association, as far as I'm concerned, anyway. Well, at 33, if you get an 8 and you cut it down the center, you have a 3. 8 is the alpha and the omega, and we are sort of in a divided state here. 33 is also the number of vertebrae that you need to rise your essential oils up in order to flood the brain and, I suppose, activate in conjunction with a proper diet. I think you have to be vegan, if not vegan, definitely vegetarian. You can't be living and doing the glutton on the punishment, on the torture of innocent animals. You can't, be doing that and expect to come out better for it. What I do eat, I still do eat eggs and butter and milk myself, but I don't touch animals. But I think, you have to set up these conditions. When you combine that then with this vibration, I say it's behemoth. I say that's
so why do you eat the dairy stuff then?
If I didn't eat that, I wouldn't know what else to eat, Jamie. You know what I mean? I'd really be struggling.
What is your excuse? Is it because we're in a broken system?
I have a broken blender, right?
Do you know when you eat the dairy and the eggs? Now, think of the way the animals are kept. They get bad joints and things, don't they? Because they're stood in their metal frames. So that's what you're going to get from that. People's going to get that when they eat it. That's what I would say. All these conditions that they're suffering, we get.
Yeah, it's not good. I am aware of that. It's just a massive step, I suppose. But yeah, well, I'm of the mind, the sun provides all our energy as well. And, we have our own powers. If you think about I mentioned this before, think about all the people with what would be classed as superhuman abilities, from the guy who can survive hours sitting in ice to the woman who can move things with her mind or whatever. I think within all of us, we have that potential, and that's what's left unexamined to a big degree. The sun comes a big part in terms of energizing us, and so sun gazing is a major.
So would you say the sun's the giver of life, Pete? Would you say Would you say the sun's the giver of life?
Yes. But the sun is broken. The sun is a broken, decapitated tree, giant crystalline tree.
Well, you don't know that, do you? For sure.
No, of course not. But that's where I've come.
So I'm just going to what I know. Do you know what I mean? So we know there's a lot of colours in the spectrum of light, isn't there?
Is the sun hot, Mick?
I don't know, Pete, because I'll tell you how I actually say it is. Do you know when you say a hot day and the sun's belting down and the ground heats up? Why is the heat going up into the direction of heat? That's not the way thermodynamics works, is it?
Yeah,
it goes up into it, so I would say it's fucking cold. It's the ground heats up, but it is cold. It's going towards it, not away from it.
It's water.
That's my observation, do you know what I mean?
It's water. That's what light is as well, Mick, is solar luminescence on. Think about a puddle of water and the effects that the sun has in it. Now, you can't
light's invisible, isn't it? You cannot say light.
Light is an effect, I say. Light is an effect of...
Yeah, but I've seen an experiment, right? So it was a room, put a laser. Inside a tank was a tank that had nothing in it. So the laser beam hit the little particles of dust lit up invisibly within the tank. Out the other side came the laser. So there was a section in the middle, nothing, because the light has to hit something.
Interact with something, right?
Yeah, the energy. So the light itself is invisible as it comes through space. You can't see light. So light has a spectrum, right?
I would say the energy that the sun is, Mick, as opposed to the light. I think the light is an effect.
I'm going on about one aspect of it in a minute. So what we pick up with our eyes is a spectrum of light. So as it hits a plant, right, all that light hits its full spectrum, but it holds all them colours back and it only releases green to us, right? Now that's the light stored in the plant. All them other colours of light is stored within the plant because it's only releasing green. We eat the plant, the life, see what I mean?
Well, you talk about everything is water, Mick, and I know you appreciate the value of it. That's what I was talking about in terms of the...
That's what's charging up within the plant, isn't it? The water, because if the water exits the plant's just a dried up piece of fucking shit.
Right. And I see the light as being an effect of the sun's energies as it interacts with the water particulates that just composes our lower atmosphere, especially.
Yeah.
So if you've heard of star in a jar, right? You've heard about the solar luminescence. So you have this brilliant spark of light created via frequency vibrations. Have you heard of that?
Yeah, seen it, yeah.
Right. So imagine the water particulates in the air, Mick, and each one of them been bombarded by the sun's energies. Imagine the explosion. This is, I think, on a cumulative level, this is what light is, or what we experience as light. As the sun goes away, then these water particulates no longer react or whatever. It's a sort of constant process as well. And then you have the dew in the morning. The sun comes back around. Evaporation creates this explosion on a mass level of these particulates. Remember, I think I've asked this question before. Get yourself a drop of water and the finest razor you can imagine. How many times can you cut that drop in two until you no longer have water? That's what I mean by a particulate, down to tiniest.
I don't think does it stop with water? I don't think it ever stops, does it, with water?
Well, it's funny. Water and matter, mother, which is mum, of course, and mother, behemoth. That's half of behemoth, mother.
Right, though, think of this. Now we think of looking out into space. Now I look through into things on YouTube about what they called, fucking microscopes that go down really small. Now on the smallest scale that they say, there's these little tiny mites, right? So them little mites that's eating your skin, or it's inside of a leaf that you're eating solid that you don't see because they're so small. Those little mites that actually happen to have a shit, and also have to have bacteria that gets rid of that shit, don't they? And as they're going to also have the little things inside that. So it just the stuff that gives them life is also liquid inside them. So how small does that liquid actually get?
It's not the big. There's the fucking ultimate irony, making a sense. It's not the large. We've ruled out the large in terms of doing away with space and light years. It's not the large that confounds us. It's by going smaller that confounds us. Those infinities.
That exists as well as up, isn't it? Down exists.
Does up exist, man?
Well, just as much as down.
Well, I don't know your view on, as you go up, what's beyond the Earth? What's beyond the atmosphere? Is the Earth enclosed in your view?
No, well, I'll tell you how I say it. Do you know how this might sound mad to anybody, but it's not, because it's only where it's just putting together what is for me. Do you know what I mean? So as above, so below. So it's like sticking your feet through the floor and you see them through the ceiling. You see what I mean? So nothing ever goes anywhere. You can never empty anything out of it because it comes straight back into it. The same way this tells us if we go off, we come back to the same point of origin.
Yeah. So you think the floor is the ceiling?
Yeah, it's the same thing. So I think we on the fucking sun right now.
So it's Pac-Man in every angle.
Well, it's not Pac-Man, because Pac-Man has to come back round. It's a video game like Grand Theft Auto.
Well, you were saying that you're actually going to come back where you started, so it does it like, well, not literally like Pac-Man, but like...
Oh, was that Lionel Richie song? Oh, what a feeling.
Well, here's the thing, Pete. Right, now, if everything's a reflection and everything's around the opposite way, right? Now, just think of this, because we've got opposites all the way, haven't we? So, if you think of something like where you're in a room full of water, and now I put an air man in it, a mannequin that's just air, and I turn him upside down. Now, the pressures of the heavy water pushes him against the ceiling. Now, for him, who's lighter than the atmosphere, he's pushed down towards the floor, isn't it? So, if he was a living thing, it's the opposite way around.
Wouldn't that make it a simulation?
You what?
Wouldn't that make it necessarily a simulation?
It would just be the opposite of what we get. For if we water in a bag now and we're in a room full of air, we reverse it, we turn round, all of a sudden I become stuck to the ceiling, not the ground. I can only jump so far from the ceiling.
I thought you didn't like talking about things you didn't know.
Well, I don't, but that's what I'm trying to say to you. I will talk about it, but be understood. It's nothing I've ever experienced other than the things I'm talking about.
I'd love to hear you talking more about this sort of stuff, Mick, because it's this sort of investigation that you could come by a greater solution. I've actually considered that before as well. And I think it was sort of hinted at in terms of the Hennessy commercial. Remember the ad was rising up, and then the ball went up through the whatever barrier, and then immediately cut to the sun in an underground.
Absolutely. But isn't there a bit on that where you get so far up, Peter, when it hits the water? We think of that as a layer of water.
Yeah.
Right. So if I turn around the other way and I let go of the balloon will sit on the water. So you could have a satellite up there just stuck on the water. Apart from it's like the balloon down here where the satellite's actually getting pulled upwards, so the balloon holds it to the water. Do you know what I mean, sort of thing? So it's dangling from it. If I push the balloon into the water, then it floats to the top, so it will come out the other side, which is down there. That diving bell might have been the same fucking diving bell. Might have come up there and come back the other way. Do you know what I mean? It's fucking strange.
Amazing possibilities, and I think they've mastered all of this. I mean, I think the one thing we have to realize, not anything that I say, you see, at this stage, is you sort of have to to go along with it, suspend disbelief. So from the very get-go, you have to maybe accept the idea of giant trees or something. And of course, for a lot of people, that's an immediate no-no. Actually, I'm very surprised that almost to a person, all of the Bible literally hate giant trees. Been attacked for talking by otherwise reasonable people just for entertaining the notion of giant trees. I've been attacked pretty harshly, unjustified as well.
Actually. Why would that, do you know what I mean?
I know, man. And that's what when I tried to get to the bottom of it and had it out with MG Pillbot, I said to him, listen, the giant trees are even mentioned in your own book that you swear by. And he comes along and he says, well, that's metaphorical. That's not meant to be taken literal. And I said to him then, well, what about the points that I point out to you, that these things are meant to be taken metaphorically, like Jesus on the cross, and not literally, and to take them literally is to lose the meaning. Well, he wouldn't accept any of that. So yeah, there's something about the giant trees. It must be true is what I'm thinking, Mick, because I know the Bible isn't literally true. It's something.
It seems like they're just picking and choosing which bits they want to take literally and which ones they want to take metaphorically.
It's exactly that, Jamie, because you hear them go, well, all this is rubbish, but this bit's like it is in the Bible. Well, what, you're going to one book all the time? Well, if you're saying all the other books is rubbish, why are you saying this is real? Because that's real, because there's lots of other things that's real in book. Like your Alice in Wonderland thing, there's bits in that's real, isn't there?
That's what I'm saying there.
Yeah, even a broken clock is right twice a day.
Yeah.
I was actually thinking about A Clockwork Orange before. If you haven't seen the movie, you should look at it.
Well, Orange, obviously 33.
Right. But before, it sort of suggested to me, or maybe I read it, that it's like an orange is a natural thing, and to add clockwork to it is to make something unnatural into something unnatural, which sort of ties in with the movie in one sense as well, taking natural feelings and what it means to be a man and sort of trying to beat it out of the individual. But but it's only tonight I considered the Clockwork Orange being the sun, right? The sun. I think that's what it's used to represent anyway. But to think of it in terms of clockwork, that's exactly how I've come to think of it. That's why we get the phases of the moon. There's not, by the way, Mick, I maintain there's nothing else except the sun. So when we look at the moon or the stars or the planets, they're just aspects of what I call the interface of the sun. Imagine a perfect example, just if you want to visualize it, Mick. Imagine underneath on your avatar with the white tree. That's your energy source. Right, and that's shooting up this black energy up to the top, and even this perimeter is perfect because it describes a circular hemispherical barrier. But so imagine the energy source still pumping away, but you cut that tree down at its root, or close to its root, and you leave a bit of a stump there. The energy would still transmit, but now it would be coming through in the form of a lightsaber, is what I call it. And what the sun is a lightsaber as it walks across the sky. But in terms of the planets, the stars, the moon, they don't exist outside of the reflected artifacts we're getting from this energy being broadcast up through the lightsaber. Against the barrier is also collapsed, so it's a contoured barrier, and that's what we're seeing. And I think I've proven it. Even I've recently found the Milky Way to be located on the moon, and I say the moon, it doesn't exist itself. It's a reflection of the face of the sun. The sun we see is the reflection that this energy is transmitting through this crystalline decapitated tree as it reflects off the barrier. The contour, well, it's important it's contoured, and it's important it's a watery barrier as well, because when you have light energies and water, you have a reflective surface, which we can all relate to. So that's a great just picture aid there so we can all imagine what the top tree is like, if it was decapitated. So the energies would still be the same, the distribution system is gone, and that's what we see when we see the sun. Well, we see the reflection.
I see the moon and sun as the opposites. So during the day, the sky illuminates everything on the ground, and that's where I can see it all the colour, everything. But the sky, even though it's a colour, I can't see anything. I can't see the sun because it's too bright. I can't see anything in the sky because it's just blue. But at night, it reverses, so I no longer can see the ground, but now the sky reveals itself to us. It's just the opposite. The moon is now cool, and it's opposite to what the sun was doing.
Well, that's because the moon is cool because the sun is neither hot nor cold. It's a frequency. It's an energy.
It's what it reveals at night. It reveals itself. It reveals a vast amount.
Right. But this energy, you see, this is what I talked about light earlier on and heat. This is an effect of the energy of the sun interacting with the water in the atmosphere. I think when you get actually sunburned, you get scalded. It's all the particulates of water. Remember, if you're looking at a puddle, you won't see it immediately evaporate, but after a while it will evaporate completely. So these water particulates are everywhere. And when they're being evaporated, someone asked about the cloud layer. Well, this is all about, you have to understand we're underneath a broken barrier, the barrier system, the electromagnetic barrier that's holding back the waters beyond. But since, again, this is just my reckoning, but since the tree has been cut, the system is not functioning as initially designed, So, the sun's energies, as what we experience as heat, is just these energies interacting with the water particulates in the air. So the sun can either be said to be hot or cold once you get above that. So when we say the moon is cold, what I take it is, it's just the sun's energies reflecting. We always see a full moon opposite the sun. So that's when the sun is lower in relation to the barrier. We see an opposite reflection. But the reason it's cold is because, first of all, the sun is neither hot nor cold, but it does pick up some of the attributes of the barrier behind, which I say is waters beyond.
Yeah. But what I'll say to you, the sun beats down on plants and the plant releases, it holds back colours and only releases them colours to you that you see, doesn't it? So them colours, where are they? They're stored in the plant, I would say. You know what I mean? So the light from the sun is stored in the plant. Now, if that's in us, where's that light go? Is the light that when the sun beats back down on us, is that the light that was stored in the plant and then coming from us? Because if you had a magnet and you had iron filings, and I put the magnet across the iron filings, all the iron filings in front of you would face towards us, but them behind you would have less effect, same way light. So it's the force that's pulling, not the force that's pushing. So it's everything seems to give and take. So maybe it's given to the plants and taken from us and the ground even. You know what I mean?
We have to go back to basics in pretty much everything, right? We really, what is a plant? Why does a tree give out apple? What is earth? These are all the basic questions, aren't they? And I think the more we go on in this, the more the answers we'll get will vary so much from what we ever thought before.
Well, let's look at them. Let's think of something living. What fits the criteria of something that's alive? What things does it have to do to qualify as something that's living?
In general, are we to set our own parameters here?
Would you say, what we observe in real life, what is something that's considered as, you would say that's live or that's dead?
I suppose you have to say movement, right? Movement would be one of the first.
So would you say, like, breathing?
Would I say what? Breathing.
Yeah. If something's breathing, would you say it's alive?
Well, you'd have to clarify that a bit more then, wouldn't you? What do you mean by breathing? In general, I suppose it would be good enough, but I could see maybe possible examples where...
Well, I would say we've got lungs that exchange oxygen and CO2, doesn't it? It's an exchange there, right? We breathe, the air goes in and it comes out. The planet, there's water, the tides go in and out. The lungs of the planet is the trees. It breathes, it exchanges. We exchange to it. We're part of it. It's all part of us.
Well, just talking about the planet breathing, Mick, I've said this before, a retired ship's navigator, I think he said 35 years on the ocean, told me that all of the Earth's tides surge from the north. Very interesting, right?
When you go to sleep, Pete,
yeah.
When it gets dark and we go to bed, now that's the end of the day for us, but it's not the end of the day because it's the beginning of a new day for everything that lives in the night. So it's the beginning of its day, isn't it? So it goes into a different state with a totally different set of things, like as we do at night when we sleep, don't we? So the planet, the thing we're living on, whatever shape it is, sleeps. It wakes up and sleeps the same, does everything the same, but it's in a different state. It does, it's like everything has these things, it's alive. So why would we think the world is anything? It has a breath, it blows.
Should we be living at night, mate?
It generates heat, it generates electricity, it does everything that we do when we live.
Should we be living at night?
Well, I think we part night, part day, Pete. That's what I think. I think that balance, that Goldilocks zone is for everything. We need to experience the night, ask the questions about the sky, because it's just as important as what we say during the day. So I think it's 50-50, Pete. That's what I would say, because everything is in that middle zone. You can't see if it's too bright, you can't see if it's too dark. Both of them make you blind. It's not until you have that bit in the middle that gives you contrast that lets you see.
Yeah, it's very interesting, but I do still maintain we are in a broken system, and I've made the analogy before about I don't know, all we're ever used to is a rusty old bike with the buckled wheel, the brake busted, saddle torn, this sort of stuff, and someone trying to come along and take the bike away, trying to convince you that they're going to fix it. You wouldn't stand for it because it's all you ever knew. But I do contend that we are in a broken system.
Well, I would say, Pete,
right, you know.
I would say my bike's working fine. I've took the stabilizers off and I'm popping wheelies and doing all sorts of stuff on my bike. Do you know what I mean? So it's whatever
Right,
bike you say that you're on. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I mean, yeah, that was more an analogy to the broken system. So that what we describe as normal might be far from normal, you know, but far away from initial condition. And I suppose this is what flat Earth. This is where it takes us, right? We understand. I think we're all on board here. The Earth is flat, and stationary, and now there are other questions to be tackled if we so choose to ask them. And I say that all the answers are there. And when I said that it can't be repaired, I didn't mean that. I think the whole system is in a state of repair. And next year,
what makes you say it's in a state of repair?
Again, Jamie, lots of different signs, but the 420 comes into it. 9/11 is another symbolic, ritualistic marker. I just think there's a greater game going on.
So do you think that in a year's time we'll have critical mass?
Oh, before that, man. Before that, I think this year.
Well, you were saying that it's going to either be the 8th of August or 8th of October.
If you ask me for a date, they're the dates I might have said. Maybe 420 is a good one as well. April 20th. But that's just me thinking 8 sounds appropriate because I have found that the 8 comes so much into everything. Like it's the highest, as I call it now, and it's the alpha and the omega. If you take an alpha from the Greek alphabet and you join it with an omega, small alpha and a capital omega, you have an 8. And again, it just represents the unknowable, the infinite. You know,
so you were saying 420. Well, not quite, but almost. UK Flat Earth Conference, 21st to 22nd of April.
Kuwait. Well, I mean, these things are like the conference in America, which is the 9th or the 11th of, is it the 9th to the 11th of November? Well, just type in November 9th and the significance with the Beatles, for instance. November 9th here is 9/11 in America. So all of these dates were chosen specifically. The guy who organizes that concert is another Bible literalist. I don't like it. I just advise people, beware. You don't want to. This is where I think the church had it.
Pete, you've damned yourself to eternal damnation now for saying things like that.
Well, that's the least of my worries at this stage, Mick, right? I have to live in the meantime. But listen, it's like they're many steps ahead of us, so they're aware of this, and they'll put their people in place to just carry on the lie in a different sense. So we have to be aware of that. I've also put my thoughts out there regarding the Bible, which is that the same hand that wrote the works of Shakespeare, wrote the Bible, wrote the works of Mozart, wrote the works of Lewis Carroll, just as seen throughout history. It's the hidden hand for a reason. So yeah, there's a greater plan going on here, but I'm happy enough that the Bible was written in and around 1611, man. That's a crazy notion, but it was a crazy notion to many of us to think possibly that the pyramids could have been built relatively recently, when it seems like it's indeed the case, you know.
I'm just thinking, you know, if we could get hold of that author of that fucking Bible thing, you know, just ask him what he meant, because he's left it so cryptic. Do you know what I mean? I'd love to know what point he was trying to get across, because everybody seems to get the wrong end of the fucking stick, don't they?
Well, the biggest mistake is to take it literally, even though there's lots of truth encoded into it, as I see it. But it's, you know, I think you need to go and understand Alice in Wonderland before you understand the Bible. Because when you do that, then you can see everything is flipped, mate. This is the way of the world. We live in an upside down. So that rule has to apply, you know. So that's the way I see it. And thanks to Alice in Wonderland for letting us know that in no uncertain terms. Did you know that Aleister Crowley, as one of his pupils, it was required studying Alice Through the Looking Glass and Alice in Wonderland. We know a lot about Aleister Crowley, of course. You know, lots of us cringe at the very mention of his name. That's conditioning, right? So everything is flipped, and there's a different game, a different story been told behind it all. And the irony of it all is we must go back to childhood, the stupid days, as you would consider it, you know, to find a real truth encoded. At least that's what I'm learning more and more. Even Rockabye Baby, mate. Think about Rockabye Baby. I mentioned this before, just how appropriate. We're talking about cutting trees here in your avatar. Rockabye Baby on the treetop. When the wind blows, the cradle will rock. When the bough breaks, the cradle will fall. Down will come baby, cradle and all. You think about in a different sense. It'll be a very different story that's been told there, and I see that story everywhere now.
I'm going to phone social services. You shouldn't be putting your baby in trees.
No, man, it's horrible, isn't it? But, you know, to the children, you have to preserve the innocence. So to the children, the truth is told. It's just encoded.
I've got a question for you, Pete. Can I ask you this question? I'll ask Jamie the same question. If you had the world at your attention and you had all the world's resources, what would be your moves?
What would be my what?
What would you do? What would you get an expedition? Would you let somebody else do it? Would you lead it? So it would be in your experience. Like, what would be your move if you had all the resources of the world at your disposal? And right, Pete, it's over to you. What would be your next move?
Oh gosh, I mean, in conjunction with many other things, the Vatican libraries completely opened up to scrutiny, where we can get a grasp, or something similar, where we can get a grasp on the true history associated with our story, and then to take it from there. Nothing becomes impossible. Right at the minute, I would be buying a little yacht, maybe a comfortable 100-footer or something, and be taking it up and around Greenland. Although I'd have a destination in mind. Actually, I get 100 people working on the last piece of the puzzle we're working on at the minute to get that solved and see what lay beyond. That's what I would do.
So say the Vatican thing. So how would you accomplish that? If they say the law says you can't do it, would you get like an army thing to march in and demand it because you believe that it's dodgy? Because there might be loads and billions of people who think the Vatican, the sun shines out the arse. Do you know what I mean? Not that whoever's right. I'm just saying how the majority might perceive that.
Well, you said I have unlimited sort of powers in one sense, or funds. Yeah. I would cross that bridge when I came to it. But okay, well, not necessarily the Vatican then. Just a concerted effort worldwide to first of all, we have to know what the fuck is going on, and then we can take it from there in terms of what we would do. People, you hear flat earthers talking about, and isn't it funny as well, the same people who talk about taking this expedition south to Antarctica, they never mentioned the North Center, which is much written. Yeah. So this is a big clue in itself, what else could you do, really? What else could you do? Just first of all, you have to get the truth out there, and that would take quite an effort. In terms of private research, all these things have to be overturned. If you had all the finances, all the funds in the world, well, then you'd take care of all.
What happens if you took over though, Pete? Right, and you went, right, we need to find who knows anything about this, and everybody went, well, we don't. We know as much as you. In fact, we let this out. For yous might tell us. Yous might come up with a good idea. What happens if that's this fucking plan? Yous try and tell us what this world is because we haven't got a fucking clue, and they just sit and listen to us.
Well, I mean, in one sense, Mick, that's exactly what a path I've been following since the discovery of the dodo and beyond, because I believe there's a greater story there, and that's sort of exactly what the question I asked you earlier on. There's a greater story there to be unraveled, and it's up to the individual to do the unraveling. Some people won't care about it. Some people will have cast no time its way or whatever, but other people, that puzzle is there, and that sort of ties in with what I see. This is an individual's puzzle, and if you want to pick up the threads and run with it, it's there for you. That's what I constantly been saying about the dodo, and even though we had a run in the last time, I'm 1,000,000% more certain that it is significant on that level. It's not the dodo itself, it's where it will lead you to, or it's the greater story that is encoded within the dodo. If you remember, again, I've talked about all of this, but the dodo is so prominent in one form or another in your early formative years. From the dodo, the suitor that you put into your mouth, or is put into your mouth as a baby, to name, you make bread with dough. You have dough for cash. All of these different influences. So, yeah, I'm with you there, Mick. I think ultimately that is the game, and it's our own individual journey, and we're free to pick up these reins that have been left for us. Everything else is theater.
What would you do, Jimmy, with the world's resources at your feet? Because, you're launching the truth movement. So, what would you be your next move with everything at your disposal? This is your chance. We put Jamie on telly. He's going live. He's going live right now. Here we go, Jamie. It's over to Jamie now. He's going to tell us what's going to happen in running the flat Earth movement. And come on, Jamie.
Jamie doesn't succumb to pressure like that, right? Right, too.
I think you probably just share it all out equally.
What? Other people's shit. The other stuff people's worked out for, you're going to take it off them and give it to the other people. Is that what you're going to do? I don't think the other people like it.
If people have worked hard for something, then they deserve more, don't they?
So just leave it the way it is then.
So what alternative do you suggest?
Well, I don't know. You're the one who's the activist launching all these things. So I was just asking you, if you got the following that you want, what's the next move?
Well, join the Masons, right? Join the Masons.
They'll know what to do.
You know the answer.
Well, Pete, you believe it's all coming to an end.
I do, man.
Hey.
Yeah.
Oh, Pete.
This is the great work, and this is definitely. We can see it everywhere. I mean,
So why are you so definite it's going to be next year then?
Jamie. I mean, well, to cut it briefly, I knew that this is not all just happening for no reason. I always expected some end date. I always knew there would be an end date.
So when the Bible literally said that we're in end times, it's not literally like there's going to be some kind of cataclysmic event.
It's the end of the illusion, man. It's the end of the world, as they say. It's the world with the L insert, or the word with the El inserted into it. So yeah, it's the destruction of the illusion and the awakening to truth, I suppose, or to reality. That's the way I see it, and I'm happy enough. I mean, how am I going to convince anyone of that? Just lots of different things coming together, and as I said before, I believe that the future is more certain than the past. I mean, it's pre-written, pre-scripted. All the dates have been picked and set, and yeah, it's as opposed to doom and gloom, it will be the opposite, complete opposite.
Do you know people believed in Nostradamus and his predictions, didn't they? And the Mayan one. They came around and it never happened. Now, the ones that are hardcore ones of them will have come up with another excuse. Oh, well, the calendar, this with the calendar, that with the calendar. But them that didn't have much invested in it, they just felt a little bit stupid and walked away from it. So you've always got to keep that open-minded, haven't you, Pete, just in case?
Oh, absolutely, man. But how do you know nothing happened? You see, this is the thing, isn't it? I say it did happen.
Yeah, it might just not be literal, like...
Not in the form that we expected it, though. Did you know that 7 days before the 21st of the 12th, 2012, we had Sandy Hook? And it can definitely be said that Sandy Hook was responsible for the awakening of so many
Are you tying that to Nostradamus, then?
Nostradamus didn't exist, man. If he was before 1598,
right.
That's my own view.
I think you're right, because if done predictions, it's more likely that Dave just says, oh, he got this right, got that right, got this right. Then he gets them all wrong in our lifetime. Do you know what I mean?
I think Martin Liedtke said it as well. He was over in some part of France or maybe Belgium or something where Nostradamus was from, and instead of a big tourist attraction, there was nothing at all. A little sign on the wall, and that was it.
Well,
there was
fake.
I just here lived Nostradamus. I don't know. He predicted he was coming home in a week, and he never made it. I don't know. But, you know, there was no fanfare or anything like that. But yeah, my own thinking now is anyone before, that includes Leonardo da Vinci, the likes of that, or the Italian Renaissance, especially the early. I know it's a tough one.
The UFO thing, Pete, isn't it? No, the UFOs and the paintings, it's all there. But like, it hasn't been done years ago. It's fucking recent.
This is it, man. This is it. And how hard would it be to do this? I mean, this is the thing I keep reminding myself anyway, is that the people are the forces that we're dealing with here, have everything in control, you know. So in one sense, you know, I've said this before as well, in one big sense, if you take away all the worries and the concerns and all the conditioning, life is pretty uneventful, you know what I mean? And it's there to be enjoyed to the utmost, but just not worrying or not fretting. Yeah, it's very interesting times, and yeah.
Well, do you know,
very different.
Do you know the fear thing? So we always threaten with your mortality's always threatened, isn't it? It's going to be global warming, it's going to be disease, it's going to be this, it's going to be that. So everybody will think of a solution out of it. It's because this is the best bit, though, Pete, if you can see it, is that the fear thing, if you can threaten your life, it doesn't have to be an immediate threat, but all you have to do is believe it, that it is a possible threat. And that makes you hang on to the solution to get you out of it. So that's what I say. I say loads of people hanging on to solutions out of the threat that it's not really existent, but only in their mind. It's the one that they chose to believe that's been presented to them. It's the one that made more sense to them. So whether it's the Illuminati, it's a global warming, it's a meteorite, it's going to be AIDS because it's sexually active all the time. Doesn't matter which which one it is, now you're open for control. Once you're open for that way out, you're open for other suggestions. It's like that the hypnotist's got you, now you can suggest other things to you now. So if you go into belief of any sort, you're open to it. Do you see what I mean? Living your life like that. You can put it, you can file it away as such, but if you live your life believing shit, and I mean, you can believe stuff, but you've got to know that that is belief, and there's a difference between that and experiencing the norm. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Again, back to the biggest questions of all: what is real? Who are we really? And well, I encourage everyone to do the same. Declare yourself king and queen on the land, in your own land, because that's who you really are. We've been fooled and tricked into thinking we're something we're not. And if you're not the authority, then who is? You know, and maybe that's what's been, as you say, Mick, earlier on. Maybe that's what they're waiting on us for. You know, this mass awakening to realize we are the authority. After all, it's almost half done for us. All the other authorities do claim to serve us in one form or another, be it the medical profession, be it the religious authorities, be it the police, the courts, etc. You know what I mean? It's just that we don't know who we are, right? So we think we're subserved to all entities. So yeah, it's more important than ever now to take a good long look at ourselves. And yeah, I stick by this behemoth mantra, a vibrational frequency, and you know, using all these different things, these knowledges in conjunction, who knows what we can achieve. One thing we know is the truth is I'm sure it's beautiful, man. I'm sure it's beautiful, and we're being prepared for it. And as you mentioned earlier on, it's a sort of a world of opposites, and you can't fully appreciate one until you experience its exact opposite. So
the necessary and the opposite. You have to experience these bad things. They're a must. So the world isn't broken; it's fixed. It's never been broken. It's the way it is. It's the people get broken or fixed off it. It's how you hit the rocks, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, and I suppose it's important to realize. I think that's what we're going through as well, Mick. Is this awakening? It's that everything we held dear, or held as normal, or held as real before, has to be brought up to question. You know, and we have to be willing to, in general, change our mind about anything. Go where the evidence leads us, and I suppose especially nowadays, go where our heart leads, and start thinking with different aspects of ourselves, or maybe ourselves as a whole. We can start thinking in terms of, just as opposed to just maybe one side of your brain. So yeah, I think on that happy note, I'm going to call it a night here. I think we had a great chat.
Yeah, I think I'm going to finish up. Yeah,
it's been cool. Lots of things to think about, and I really appreciate the chat anyway, and the fine sentiments and well wishes as well, Mick and Jamie. So cheers.
Yeah, I've enjoyed it, Pete. It's been nice talking to you.
And nice dreams, Mick.
I'm listening this time. Do you know what I mean? I've enjoyed that. See you, Jamie.
Yeah, see it. Yeah, cheers, everybody. Yeah, take it easy. Peace.